Thank you for coming out to the Calexit Congress, the most important conversation that Californians can have, broadcast to over 100,000 people across California on multiple networks. Please subscribe to our channel. We're trying to grow organically. Please like, and if you ever want to come and talk about California issues, please come on down and hang out with us. We're here for you. This is a collection of Californians, mostly some people from around the world and a few Americans. And we're very diverse. We have a couple Trump voters, although not majority. Most of us are liberal. But we wanted to let you know that this is a conversation that everyone in California is entitled to be part of if you believe one thing. America appears to not be stable, and we as California have the ability to do something on our own. What happens if things don't work out and we have to take care of ourselves, like we saw with the coronavirus epidemic and like we saw with the coup on January 6th? Well, getting right into it, we have a great show today. We're going to have a presentation by John Simha on the Irish Decolonization Diaspora Project that's launching in the Bay Area here in California, followed by a presentation on Robert Stark talking about how in America, wealth seems to keep transferring from the middle class to the rich. Through the recession, through COVID-19, doesn't seem to matter what you do, the wealth goes from the poor to the rich in America. Finally, we'll have a presentation by NICKOLAS WILDSTAR. Then we'll have a presentation by Sam CHANEY on unconstitutional spying on Americans has been continued under the Biden regime. JASON WRIGHT will be talking to us about a joint statement with the Movement for Independencia de Baja Peninsula. Baja Peninsula movement has agreed to work even closer with Yes California. We're happy. And then I will be doing a presentation on the online certification courses in independence. There's a lot of online courses. There are none teaching you the basics of independence and secession law around the world, in America, and specifically in our nation here. We will be providing the first one, developed on 10 years of expertise and overseen by multiple California college professors. That's coming out soon. But let's get right into it. One of the things that we talk about here is that America is not working. And I'd like to show you a little clip real quick. So I'm going to share screen. Okay, can everybody see this with Saagar Enjeti?
Yep.
Okay. All right, I'm turning up the speakers. All right, here we go.
Hey, show me the innocent. Just the only list. The other decided that even though Tobin was literally found guilty, it didn't mean anything. No. I was struck by just how awful our politics was whenever I was watching it happen. His friends stormed out online, and even in the event of a disastrous result,
Hey, Marcus.
Yes.
I can't hear it at all.
Okay.
You should turn on the closed captioning and make it full screen, and that would be helpful, I think.
Okay. Thank you.
There you go.
I apologize to everybody. I had the speakers unplugged. I tried to replug them. Let's at least try this. Thank you. Thanks, John.
I can't hear the volume.
Okay. I understand that people can't hear. I cannot fix that right now, short of shutting down the laptop and rebooting the whole show. Let me just show this for a few seconds. If you could look at the text in there, I'll come out of this in about 1 minute and cover it. I understand that people can't hear. I apologize. I moved my laptop and did not plug in the speaker. Bear with me for 1 minute and we'll come right back.
Sectarian is a word I never know how to use talking about comparing politics. It's one of the earliest parts of my career, writing about the Iraq War. And all the sectarian rights were literally religious in America. And we are slowly starting to look a lot more at the strides of Vermont to the heterogeneous democracy that we set up. America was founded in safety issues of the European monarchical system, where we moved from 30 years wars over religion. And yet, things actually might be worse here than in Europe. So 650 years later, now the question of
Okay, I'll kill that right there. So what he's talking about is this study. Boy, if I could find it. Okay, never mind.
Just put the link to the YouTube, to that Sagar YouTube in the chat.
Sure. Why is that? Okay. Sorry about that. I will get that link to you. Basically, Sagar Enjeti is saying there is a Stanford University study, Stanford, California University study out this week that says that sectarianism in America is now equal to the amount of division in war-torn Iraq. Sagar Enjeti covered the Iraq war. He's been a reporter. And he covered how religious tribes in Iraq literally destroyed themselves and tore the country apart. Now he's pointing out that this week, Stanford University, California University, has done a study. And they have shown that the amount of division between the political divides here is equivalent to the tribes of Iraq. I want to repeat that. The political division in America is now so bad that it is equivalent to the amount of Sunni Shia sectarian violence and division that we saw in war-torn Iraq. So if that doesn't shock the hell out of you, wow. I'll get that Stanford University study up to you in a minute, but I wanted people to see that. We had made this prediction here at YesCal that America was not going to become unified after Trump lost the election and that Biden won. Well, here's proof. It's been months, Biden's been president, and America is now as divided as the tribes of Iraq before they launched that civil war. Yes, it's that bad, and Stanford University proved it. We'll put up that link here in a minute. But I want to point out some of the other predictions that we've made, because the point of this Congress is you don't have to believe that Calexit is the right answer. You just have to have two eyeballs and recognize that things aren't working for California and things aren't working as America in general. I see there's a lot of comments. We'll get to those in 1 second. Specifically, I got to go over some predictions. So, YesCal said it, and now we have proof. A lot of times, YesCal says things, and everybody goes, that's crazy, that's ridiculous. We're the first ones saying it, and then a couple of years pass, and it turns out we were totally right and everybody else was wrong. So here's the first one. Biden's tax plan increase. I'll show you this in a second. Basically, here's the California Policy Journal, Cal Matters, saying California may act like an independent nation, but you have to do whatever the federal government says. And if they want to set a tax policy that slams you really hard and ruins your tax base, they can do that, and there's nothing you can do about that. I'll show you that reference in a second. Here's a quote. California politicians often portray the state as a nation state that's largely independent, but Washington calls the tune on tax policy and California must dance. Dance. That's from a California policy analyst. Let's take another look. California National Guard. Now, this is one of my favorites. We have said years ago, and we were chastised for saying that the California State Guard is for California. It's under the exclusive control of the governor. It's under the exclusive control of Californians. It cannot be controlled by the federal government. It's one of few state guards that's allowed here. We also have a state militia, naval militia. Now then, that's different than the California National Guard, which can be federalized, which can have troops taken away and sent to a foreign destination to fight a war that Californians were against while we have domestic issues that aren't solved. This happened with the Iraq War. Our California National Guard was federalized, sent to Iraq, a war that we opposed, and we had nobody to fight forest fires, and then our forest burned down to the ground and our climate change goals were destroyed. So we said the Cal National Guard isn't really doing much for California and isn't for our benefit. Additionally, because they're tied to the federal government, they're always trying to get federal money, which means they'll do what the federal government says. So let's take a look at how we were right. Well, it turns out that they were going to fly an F-15 fighter jet over California protesters to scare the crap out of them, shatter windows, burst eardrums, and get them to dispense if there was a protest in Sacramento. This is what's done in the war zones of Iraq and Afghanistan. I'll put up the article here in a second, but you have military spokesmen saying, we were ordered to get that jet ready to fly over the crowd. This is exactly what America does in war zones. National Guard people saying, I was ordered to prepare to do something we have in foreign war zones on California people. That's not a California value. That's not for Californians. We said that years ago. Everybody laughed at us. You guys are silly. Well, what's this? That's not us. Oh, here's another. And then here we go. We had also pointed out that the Nestle was pulling money, water out of California because the federal government doesn't care about us. They were allowing Nestle to pull water out of California with expired permits at a fraction of the cost. We were like the only other group besides a small protest group highlighting that. Well, now the California government says that's a problem and it's unfair. They were not saying that years ago when we were the first ones bringing it up. Just like when we brought up nation state, donor state, and Texas versus white, which now many California officials talk about. And this is one of my favorites, is that California is a donor state. And even when we do get our fair amount, America's not trying to take care of us. So California needs water infrastructure. America needs water infrastructure. Joe Biden has announced a massive infrastructure plan. But here's what it says. All this money from America to fix the water isn't even enough. Everybody's talking about how Joe Biden's got a big vision for infrastructure. It's not even going to get a fourth of the water fixed in America. So this is America's best plan to fix America, and they can only do 25% of it. By the way, they also literally said in that article, hey, California, you're not going to get the amount of money you need from the federal government, and you will have to cover up the rest for yourself. We've been a donor state since the 70s. They still can't even fix water in America, and they can't even get us the fair amount of infrastructure to fix our water. Yeah, that's this week. So National Guard, not your friend. Nestle, not your friend. Federal government, not going to fix water. California, even if they tried, they couldn't fix it. That's everything we've been saying for years. And that's all this week in the news. I'll show you here in just a second. Oh, and it turns out that as we predicted, the federal court system is actively against California. For the 5th time, the court has struck down what Californians wanted in order to literally save our lives from coronavirus. We're told, no, you don't get to have the protocols that you believe are right for your people for coronavirus. I understand there's a variety of opinions on coronavirus, but the federal government says, hey, do you think you need that to literally not die and end up in body bags? No, you don't get to have that. And they said it 5 times. So Californians will be dead because the federal government won't allow us to do what we want. Let me show you some of those links real quick and we'll get to the comments, just so that you know this is all true. Some of the predictions we made here in Yes, California. Okay, do a screen share and I'll come right back in a second. Okay, this is the political sectarianism in America. This is the Stanford University study showing how it's getting worse. Here's the California National Guard. Members feared fighter jet would be ordered to frighten protesters. The air branch of the Guard was told to place an F-15 fighter jet on alert status for possible domestic mission. Biden's tax plan could really hurt Californians bad. Here's a policy analyst saying, hey, you have to do whatever the federal government says. Don't confuse yourself. California is acting like you have real power over how you finance yourself. Here's another article talking about Nestle. And now the California government is ready to say that that's a problem and they need to take on the federal government 4 years after Yes, California said the same thing. And finally, here is the report. California's water systems are in deep trouble. And the amount of investment from Joe Biden's gigantic infrastructure thing won't even fix it. And even if it did, California, you're going to have to cover it all by yourself. So we are telling you as Californians, this is the most important conversation in California you need to have. Things aren't working for you. Things aren't working in America. And things aren't working for California in America. Now, if you think that we're crazy, fine. But what's your solution? More of the same? Our National Guard was literally ordered to treat us like foreign combatants. Nestle steals our water and nothing has been done because it's protected by the federal government on expired permits. The federal government can destroy our tax base and we can do absolutely nothing about it. And the federal court systems have literally destroyed our ability to protect our own lives. That's not bad enough. I don't know what to tell you. Let's go to a couple comments, and then in 3 minutes, we're going to go to John Simha with a presentation. But let's take some comments here. We got a lot coming in. Okay, subtitle the block, have no business, not surprised. Jack B says, amen. Yeshuan says, There's truth among us of how to deal with the chaos. Thank you, Shuan. Order out of chaos is something that some want, and a small group wants to the system to do this. Jack B says, nothing was caused by the virus, it was caused by the government. I'm not going to get into that. Nestle uses slave wages for other nations too. That makes sense. Jack B says, any business that put a roof over someone's head is essential. And Carlos S. Footballer, who joined us a few weeks ago. Hey, Carlos, he joined. He just saw the show and he goes, can I join? And I go, are you a Californian? And he said, yes. I go, great. Then you can come in. Okay, that's all our comments. We're done. Let's go to John Simha. John Simha has been a longtime colleague of Yes California. He's done a ton for us. He got us connected with the Scottish independence movement. He got us connected with Indigenous people. He got us connected with Bernie Sanders activists. He's literally been a driving force. He's moving on to a new project now, the Irish Decolonization Diaspora Project in the Bay Area. It's a good project. All Californians should support it. And we wanted to hear directly from John. John, what is it Californians need to know about this project, and why should they be supportive, sir?
Well, I'm going to show our little launch video. We launched the organization after 17 months of planning yesterday on May Day to commemorate the International Workers' Labor Day. But I want to share my screen here if I can. Let's see. It doesn't appear to be letting me share my screen. Oh,
what you can do,
I got it. I got it. Give me a second. Okay, y'all should be able to see this. Can y'all see the logo?
No.
Nope.
You could post it to private chat, and I can grab the link and then post it up.
So you don't see the sharing at all? Okay.
I don't.
I posted the link in the chat.
Okay, let me grab that.
In the private chat. It's decolonize.irish.
Okay, I see it. 1 second. We will get that up right now.
While that's going up, have you been seeing what's been going on in Belfast?
I have not. I've been completely immersed in the launch of this organization. We launched in coordination. We launched our. There you go, Marcus. Can you scroll down? Click on that announcing a new Irish organization in the San Francisco Bay Area link, and then scroll all the way to the bottom of that. And there's a video. It's 30 seconds long. And I put in the private chat about, there it is. You click on the full screen there. There you go.
I don't have the speakers plugged in. I apologize.
That's okay. It's subtitled. There you go. That's our official launch video, and it was in coordination with the website launch, which you see here, decolonize.irish, and also the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts were all launched in coordination, and those are Facebook is decolonize.irish, and Twitter and Instagram are both IDDA_BA. So Irish Diaspora Decolonization Alliance Bay Area is our social media post. Anybody that you know with some Irish heritage, especially in California, should please reach out to us. Contact or join at decolonize.irish. So thank you guys for giving me the platform. Look forward to hosting any questions or contributions that you might have.
Okay, let me get that link up to everybody.
I have a question for you, Farmer John.
What's happening, Nicholas?
How you doing?
I'm great.
Good. Very well. Thank you for asking. I just have a quick question about the effort. Is it also going to be partnering with any other, indigenous movements out there? Because I think it would definitely be beneficial if, the group did.
Yeah, we spent 17 months building this platform, and the website has all of our points of unity, our statements of solidarity, the organizations that we're working with, the elders in the different BIPOC communities that we've reached out to for advice. Our advisory council is stocked full with some really badass Bay Area activists from the BIPOC community. My involvement with them began because of my relationship as YesCAL's director of outreach. And the more I learned from indigenous people, the more I realized that if I wanted to have a voice in their fight, that I had to connect with my own indigenous roots. And so that put me in touch with the Irish group. And I've been working with them since the Sacred Fires of Alcatraz in 2019, which was the last time that we were all allowed to gather in person to have the sunrise ceremony. And that's when I got connected to the Irish group as they read a statement of solidarity to the International Indigenous Treaty Council. And the text for that statement of solidarity is also on the website, along with some of the other actions that we've done in the past couple of years. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking. All those details are outlined, and this is extremely professional. We have fiscal sponsorship. We have multiple committees, advisory council, executive committee, tech and comms, all of our points of unity, mission statement, standard operating procedures, our onboarding platform for new members, and we're already doing collaborative work with several organizations, one in New Mexico, affiliated loosely with the Red Nation. So there's a lot of stuff happening.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I like your backdrop too.
It's my favorite one. I'm rocking until he's gone.
Nicholas, since we're on that tip, the governor campaign for the mayor of Nevada City was just announced. You should definitely look her up, and you guys might be able to collaborate on some stuff. I know she's big time into recall and also anti-mask, anti-vax. So yeah, her name is Renette.
Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, former mayor of Nevada City.
Other comments about the Irish Diaspora Decolonization Alliance? And I just got to say, John is one of the best activists I've ever met. He's been around for years. He did the Bernie Sanders thing. He did things with the indigenous that people said were impossible. Now he's moving on to the Irish Decolonization Diaspora. You can see that policy statement. There's a lot of high-level thinking there. John, you're one of the most professional, one of the best activists I've ever met. Does anybody have any questions for John? He's here. He'll answer questions on this. I would suggest take the time. Any other questions for John about the Irish Decolonization Diaspora?
Yeah, I was wondering, so what's the purpose? What's the goal of the group, this thing?
Our statement of purpose is on our website, very clearly outlined. I don't have it memorized, but you can read it there. Essentially, it was framed by the video. We're going to use our privilege and power to support the marginalized and oppressed peoples of the world. Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Anthony. And thanks, Marcus, for having us on. Appreciate it.
You're awesome, dude.
No matter what happens, y'all gave me this kickstart. So
I loved all the projects you've started, and I was proud to be part of them, and I was proud to work on them, and I was blown away at the amount of impact that you basically single-handedly achieved. In my opinion, you don't have to agree with starting conversations with the indigenous across California when the LA Times and San Francisco Chronicle said that would never happen. I love proving major newspapers dead wrong, and you allowed us to do that, and I will always owe you for that.
Thanks. Well, this Tuesday is our next listening roundtable, and we have Citizen of the Tongva Nation in LA hosting, and they've just established a land consortium in LA to help get public land back into tribal stewardship. So that's happening at 1 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, and that's with Tina Calderon. So I'm still working with that, but I'm trying to get an indigenous person to take over the whole platform so that I can focus on my on the work with my ancestors.
The email to check out is returncalifornia@gmail.com. Is that fair, John? Or
yeah.
Different? Okay.
Yeah, and returncalifornia.org has all the previous roundtables recorded. And I think Marcus has been at every single one of those, so respect.
Thank you. I love it. I love it. It's empowering. It's empowering. I mean, and some of the best conversations I've had was with Julina, and that's only because you hooked us up. So I would never have met her without you. I never would have met Les Hall. I never would have met Canyon. I never would have met Scott. I never would have met Desiree. I never would have met, you know, the intricacies of the difference between the different Ohlone tribes and the Sacramento region, and how there's 3 different tribes and how they overlap and all the politics with it. And I learned from you, and I owe you. Return California. That's Return California. It's super easy to remember. returncalifornia.com or .org. I'm not sure. Sorry. And returncalifornia@gmail.com. We're having listening sessions where real live indigenous people come and talk about how they would like their land returned. Now, whatever you think about that, this is historical. So there was a genocide in the 1850s in California. Nobody has really asked these people ever. What do you think about that? How do we pay that back? Are you okay with what's going on? I mean, the first time there was ever a conversation was the governor said, I apologize for the genocide. And I think that was awesome of Gavin Newsom to do that. I know, Nick, I'm giving him a specific compliment, okay? Gavin Newsom was awesome on the apology. But what I noticed was that foreign news, not domestic, not Californian, not American, foreign news, get that? Interviewed the actual indigenous of California and said, so how do you feel about that? And they go, great start. No American would interview them. No California newspaper would interview. Only the British news would actually ask the California indigenous what they thought about the governor's apology. Isn't that interesting? In this day and age, progressive California. And what the indigenous said was, yeah, it's an apology, but you kind of wiped us out. I think more than just a few words is what we deserve. And never heard from that. Never heard a response from the governor. Totally dropped. That was about a year ago. That's not good enough. And that's not California values to look the other way at something horrible we did in the past and go, yeah, moving on, whatever. It's not okay for Black people. It's not okay for Latin people. It's not okay for Muslim people. It's not okay for Chinese people. It's not okay for Japanese people. And it certainly damn well ain't okay for indigenous. This is California. We're not going to make it perfect, but we're not Americans. We don't look the other way and go, let's just move forward and stop talking about it. We need to do more. Perhaps the Return California solution isn't the right one, but jump on in the conversation. Let's have this conversation about how there was a genocide like the Nazis, and we have done nothing to repair that to date. That's wrong, and it's not a California value. I'll leave it there. ReturnCalifornia@gmail. John, last words, last comments, brother? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was just saying thanks for having me on. I wish I could stay on longer, but I have other obligations. But please feel free to reach out through either website, connected to both. And I actually manage the Twitter for IDDA BA, and I encourage all of you to get on there and share, especially if you want some Irish muscle to support something you're working on. So thanks again for the platform. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you for introducing me to Julina Acosta and so many Indigenous. I love you.
Okay.
And I was going to try and tell him before he left.
Go ahead and say it. I'll send him the video.
Yeah. The Scottish National Party is also right now hosting a big thing for their independence movement. You know, sister movements, you know, doing our thing at the same time. Pretty awesome. But their, you know, their big vote is on Thursday, and they're currently right now holding a huge, huge thing to get out the vote. So I was going to tell him he should check that out. But
we should. I've been getting on this for a while, but we should finalize the connections with the other movements and then officially list them.
Let's do that. We'll get into some Congress business after a few presentations, and then we'll get into some Congress business. Robert, is that okay? Robert Stark, is it okay? We'll get into the resolution you proposed and some resolutions about listing all of the international alliances we're making. I want to get some of the presentations done, and then we'll go to Congress business, if that's okay with everyone. Okay. Right. Thanks, Robert, though. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, let's go to the next presenter. Let me find that, which is Robert Stark. So, Robert Stark, you were going to talk about how there is a problem in America where no matter what, every disaster, what happens is the middle class lose their wealth and it goes to the 1%. So after all these bailouts and stimulus checks and the federal government saying, we're going to help you through the great 2008 recession and the COVID-19 thing, it always ends up with, when everything's settled, the middle class lost wealth definitively that they never made back, and the 1% gained in wealth. The first gigantic permanent wealth transfer was the 2008 recession with the bailout of the banks that was never stimulated into the economy, no bailout of the people, while the homeowners lost all their equity. The second one now is COVID-19. And yet again, here we go. Middle class is going to lose permanently. They'll never make it back. By the way, that's on top of never making it back from the 2008 recession, while the 1% continues to get bigger. Robert Stark, what's going on in America?
Yeah, so poverty really soared even over the past month, even as unemployment has subsided. So it's really, yeah, it's impacting the bottom 20% the most. That really fell out, and we're seeing kind of a greater economic bifurcation. Like those who can work from home or stay on payrolls through PPP, or some of them are doing okay, but yeah, it's not just the bottom 20. Obviously, small businesses were devastated, and the stimulus checks, they made a modest dent in some of these in this poverty, but it's still a limited scope, and especially like looking over the closure of businesses, small businesses in particular, record profits for Amazon. So this came out from Market Watch. The pandemic has been very profitable for Amazon.com Inc. Amazon reported first quarter earnings of $8.11 billion Thursday afternoon. So that's the yearly quarter for this year, 2021. And in the 12 months ending March 31st, so that would have been most of last year, comprising most of the pandemic's effects in the U.S. and areas other than China. Amazon collected a net income of about 26.9, and I've actually seen reports that's put it even higher, but I'm going off Market Watch and then Guardian report. From the Guardian, there's big tech is on a roll. And every minute of the first 3 months of 2021, Apple, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Microsoft sold products and services about 2.5 million combined. Profits before tax for the period came in at 88 billion, 1 billion of profit for every working day. So the impact of this, the next couple years for sure for those who've been impacted by unemployment. But if you fall back hard, it's harder to make up, even if we do have a better economic situation 5 years from now down the road. And right now we're at peak. It seems to be like peak political support for solutions, even despite polarization. But overall, this is going to have long-term impacts, restructuring the overall economy that could last decades.
Okay. Comments from anyone in the Calexit Congress or anyone watching on YouTube who's a Calexit Congress member or any Californian about what Robert Stark is talking about here, where in America, whenever there's a crisis, you're told, hey, you can't leave America. You need that insurance blanket. You need that system. What if there's a horrible thing, then it happens? Who's going to save you? Well, we had the 2008 recession, worst recession in a century, basically. And what ended up was the banks got bailed out and the middle class lost their homes and their wealth and never got it back. That's 10 years ago. No one's ever going to fix that. No one's ever going to get that wealth back. No one's ever going to get those homes back. No one who was in charge of collapsing the economy is ever going to be punished. Done. Now we're into COVID-19. And again, people are going to lose money. So the middle class lost, never came back after the recession. Now they're going to lose again, never come back after COVID-19. Do you see how this creates a ladder where you're drop down, and then drop down, and then drop down? And suddenly, all of the middle class is poor, and all of the wealth is in the 1%. And you have a Gini coefficient, which is the worst in the world, essentially like a Latin American nation. Now, if you want to look at corrupt governments and places where democracy does the absolute worst, look for places with high gaps in wealth between the super wealthy and the middle class. Frankly put, when the middle class isn't that wealthy, it doesn't have money to invest in politics. When it can't do that, all of the money's the 1%. When that happens, the middle class just keeps getting knocked down and knocked down. So this is the second major wealth transfer in America from the middle class up to the 1% with nothing fixing it, and it's the second one in a row. This is horrible. It absolutely does nothing for the American people. It makes life worse for the middle class, and Joe Biden and no one has any plans to acknowledge this or deal with it at all, and there's nothing you can do about it as long as you're part of America. Robert, am I getting that wrong? Is that an unfair summary of what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate and goes with what I covered.
Yep. Okay. Well, any comments for Robert Stark about this topic? Okay, Robert, thank you so much.
I have a comment.
Yeah, Jason.
I'd just like to say for anyone watching who maybe isn't in America or doesn't maybe have quite a struggle that they're facing right now, $1,400 once every like 6 to 9 months does literally nothing. I mean, okay, sure. It lasts about a month here in California if you spend it very sparingly on only personal needs and food. It might last a month. That's not rent. That's not utilities. It's nothing. It does nothing. And it's not like it goes and sits in a bank and collects interest and makes me money or anything. It just immediately gets spent back into the economy, which is great for the economy. So, you know, one could theorize that maybe they should do it much more regularly, much more often. But, you know, as it's been pointed out, the wealth just keeps going up to the top and doesn't really come back down no matter how hard we try.
Yes, if I could add to that, believe it or not, I don't know if you guys have saw this, but the Biden administration is considering approving a stimulus package, I believe a $400 to $600 monthly payment for the next 4 years. So for his first term, he's pretty much offering to provide a UBI for everyone in America that is out of work and qualifies, because I don't qualify. I haven't received any pandemic unemployment assistance. And although there are some out there that, are receiving that, the guarantee for them that's being offered by the Biden administration is, again, a 4-year payout. So, of course, we're going to have to foot the bill for that. And what Robert is saying is correct. It's going to inflate the dollar even more, expand that divide between the middle class and the rich, the ultra rich, who are going to become even more richer. So please definitely look into this information because it is vital to our economy.
Okay. Let me
Yeah,
show you what
that's the other important thing to stress is that California, being one of the major financial contributors to the United States of America, where do you think they're going to get $1.9 trillion from? California. Just saying, And then $400. Ooh, yay! Guaranteed monthly payments of $400 to $600. Are you kidding me? $1,400 is nothing. $1,400 lasts a month. But yeah, out of touch politicians who are already super wealthy and spend millions of dollars revamping their home in preparation for becoming president, even though it's still the primary election cycle. Stuff like that. Good old America.
Yeah. Any other comments from anyone else? I'll send you. Okay, let's see. Yeshun says, I'm sorry. When the dollar crashes and the checks bounce, it's on. Chaos time for a minute, unless we tie energy and new tech advances along with natural resources to responsibility to humans on the soil first. Jack B says, just inflate. I think that's a joke. Very funny, Jack. And then Jack says, it won't hurt the wealthy, but it will devastate the poor. Yes, we're definitely not going to do that, Jack. Thanks for the comment, though. Please keep the comments coming. Any other comments from other people? I just put up the link. It's called the new monthly stimulus for families. Biden wants them for years. You just saw the link right there. So what Nick's talking about is happening. Biden's saying, hey, let's keep people on the dole for years. They're already talking about the price of bread and eggs going up with the first stimulus check. So what that means is inflation, or the basket of goods that economists use to recognize inflation, is already being affected. First stimulus check is out. Prices are going up on everything: toilet paper, bread, eggs, everything for basic commodities, not yachts. So small people are going to get pinched because of the money coming. So yeah, hey, let's give them money. Well, you did it in a way that causes inflation. So actually poor people are going to get less now. And then if you continue this for 4 years, that will cause inflation up to this much, and the price of goods, or the basket of goods, will also go up. So there is no such thing as injecting artificial money into the economy with no benefits or repercussions at all. It's called inflation or hyperinflation. We're already seeing the sign of it. Janet Yellen is not responsible, and Joe Biden is putting a lead weight on the gas pedal. Let's take a few more comments. Any comments from anyone in Calexit? Jason, Rabbi, Robert Stark, Mike, Julina?
I'd like to point out, you made a great point there. The prices of yachts are not going up. Interestingly enough, the prices for goods that the average people need, skyrocketing. The prices of luxury items such as yachts and private jets and helicopters, those prices are going down because the supply is still there, but the demand is not. The supply is not there for those of us average folk who need things like milk and cheese and eggs and bread and toilet paper and hand sanitizer. But the prices, you know, skyrocketing because we don't have that supply and we all need it.
That's it exactly. Any other comments? Any other comments from anyone on this? Let me see if I can find the inflation already happening. Yeah, there it is. Oh, no, that's, never mind. Anyways, I'll look for that in a little bit, but inflation's already here. So type in inflation is already here. Basic commodity prices are already going up. That's from the first round of stimulus. It's only going to get worse. So the poor are going to get poorer. You just saw Robert Stark talk about how the poor and middle class are getting poorer. And here's Biden trying to help out the poor and middle class, and he's going to make it even worse. So that's America for you. All right, a few more comments, private chat. But the Dems care. So yeah, here we go. One more. The welfare state has failed. Let me put this in. Okay. Any other comments on this topic before we go to the next speaker? All right, we're going to go to the next speaker. Sam CHANEY. Sam CHANEY was going to talk about how it's a new day in America, right? The
I thought it was me. Pardon me.
It's a return to decency of Joe Biden. And guess what's happening? Joe Biden administration allowed or ordered the Federal Bureau of Investigation to allow unconstitutional spying on American citizens. They were already warned that what they were doing was unconstitutional. They knew it was unconstitutional and chose to do it anyways. So, unconstitutional spying where they knew damn well it's unconstitutional. Legal authorities said, don't do that, it's against the Constitution, and they did it anyways, didn't tell you, spied on American citizens, ruined your rights, and this is under the Biden administration. Sam CHANEY. Okay, I guess Sam is going to be joining us remotely. Let me show you at least one article where he's pointing this out. Give me one. Oops. Okay, give me 1 second here. All right. So, I'm sorry, my computer's running a little bit slow. Let me try to clean that up. All right, I don't know why that's doing that. The computer's frozen here for a second. Sorry. Anyways, the FBI, combed through the NSA's trove of American communications without a warrant in its search for racially motivated violent extremists when it was already warned the practice was unconstitutional. Newly declassified report shows the FBI trawled through vast troves of communications collected by the NSA. Despite previous warnings it was unconstitutional, the FBI went ahead and did it anyways. Single request from the FBI analysts for the NSA data in connection with predicated criminal investigations related to domestic terrorism turned up 33 hits. It's unclear from the heavily redacted FISA secret court report whether it uncovered any criminal extremist behavior while looking into people's records unconstitutionally. And so basically, there you go. So they spied on you. It was unconstitutional. It was against American law. They knew that. They did it anyways. They don't care. And we're not even sure it actually did anything good. America, return to decency. So, like I said, you don't have to back Calexit, but you should be informed as a Californian of what is America doing? And is this a return to normal America? If it is, how horrible. Sam, any other comments? Add me in on StreamYard. There he is. Sorry, I didn't see you. You were below the block. Sorry. Sam Chaney, everybody.
You guys are trying to oppress me over here like the federal government, man. What's going on?
Sorry, brother. Sorry. It's a good show. We got a lot of comments and stuff.
I like
going on,
your,
so
just to flash back to the last segment on the economy, I like the point that you made, Marcus, about they want us so poor we cannot even politically organize to oppose them. And that is exactly what they are doing. And they say that's what they're doing. They say they want us so poor that we have no time to do anything but try to figure out how to eat. Okay? That's where the system's taking us. But back to the spying, we know from Edward Snowden, flashback to Edward Snowden, when liberals used to be against spying. I went in protest when that all came out with a big liberal group here in Fresno, Peace Fresno, right? I thought that's back when liberals could be rational and we could all be on the same page and agree that our government shouldn't be spying on us unconstitutionally. And so now and then nothing happens, right? Nobody gets in trouble from the deep state, the NSA, FBI, all your alphabet agencies just continue to do this incredible unconstitutional spying. And they say, oh, the excuse is we're just collecting the metadata. And so we're not really spying on you, but we're just getting every little piece of data that you ever put out there in the digital world. And we store it over here in this NSA database, but we're not going to use it against you. It's for national security, and we're going to go ahead and use it against the terrorists, right? That's the excuse that they sold us. So then people said, okay, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about. The point is they'll change the law tomorrow that you thought what you were doing yesterday was not against the law. Today it will be. They'll retroactively enforce it. So you cannot say I'm not doing anything wrong. I have nothing to worry about. Spying is perfectly okay. We have a Fourth Amendment right in this country that the federal government under Republican, Democrat administrations are clearly violating. And to what end? Have they caught any terrorists? They're engineering most of the terrorism. So to what end are they doing the spying in this most recent? And last week we covered the post office is spying. This week we're covering the FBI's doing it with no warrant, combing through that, quote, metadata that the NSA is getting everybody for racially motivated violent extremists. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But what does that even matter? What motivates their extremism? I say the violent extremists are the federal government.
Well, Sam, Julina Acosta, Yeshua, and Jack B. all love what you're saying. So when you were talking about unconstitutional spying and they're taking the same rights, and hey, I remember with George W. Bush, you know, they spied on us without our rights with the Patriot Act. And then Obama came around in 2014 and he lied to the American people on TV saying, we don't spy on you. And then turns out he spied on us. And then they portrayed everybody who criticized him as a bad person when in Germany and France and England and the rest of the modern world, they were freaking out going, oh my God, the American president just said, let's spy on everybody and lie to their face. Obama never got that criticism here. The rest of the modern world recognized it so. And now here we are with Trump. He's horrible. And now we're back to Biden. So George W. Bush spied on you unconstitutionally. Barack Obama lied to your face about spying on you unconstitutionally. Donald Trump was a monster. And Joe Biden has now spied on you unconstitutionally. Almost seems like America's all about spying on you unconstitutionally.
They spied on Trump administration. Nobody in the deep state gets in trouble, and they're persecuting the whistleblowers. The two most well-known ones, Snowden has to be exiled to Russia, and Julian Assange is in some prison for exposing this stuff at WikiLeaks. It's disgusting. These people have no credibility. The federal government, the FBI, NSA, they have no credibility. Okay, they don't stop terror attacks. They engineer them. And it's disgusting. And both sides, all political stripes need to call them out on it if you value any of your privacy.
So there you go. You were spied on unconstitutionally. This is the decent America, normal America, as we were told. It is one where even when legal scholars say that is illegal, unconstitutional, against the basic spirit of the founding fathers of America, they'll do it anyways and not tell you. And my favorite part is we don't even know if it benefited anything. I love the part where they go, yeah, they spied on everybody, and we don't even know if they actually found anything. Like with the Patriot Act, when they spied on everybody, we don't get to know, did you find terrorists? When Obama spied on everybody in 2014 and lied about us, we don't know. Did you result in terrorism results? Or, I mean, how much efficacy did that return? Or are you just spying us? So it's one thing to say, I'm taking away your rights to keep you safe. How do we know you kept us safe? You don't tell us how effective any of these measures were.
Marcus, Thomas Jefferson famously said, if you give up, or I'm sorry, it's Ben Franklin to paraphrase them, if you give up your liberty for security, you will receive neither. Okay? And that's the truth. That was true 200 whatever years ago. It's true again today.
He said people who give up their liberty so easily for security don't deserve either. It wasn't that you'll lose it. He says you don't deserve either one. So one of the founding fathers says, hey, I'm a guy writing what makes it to be an American. And I'm telling you right now, if you're an American and you're willing to give up your liberty for freedom, you don't deserve liberty or freedom. The guy who built America said, hey, Americans, any American that's willing to give up liberty for safety, you're not an American and you shouldn't be one and you don't deserve anything. And that's what a founding father said. So if you don't like it, take it up with him. He says you're a bad American for behaving that way and so willingly giving up your liberties for freedom. Don't get mad at me. That was the people who actually built America said that. Take it up with them. Guess you're a bad American. Okay, moving on. Sam, let's go.
Actually, may I say a few things?
Yes, please.
I got to add my 2 cents to this.
Oh, please. Governor candidate NICKOLAS WILDSTAR,
Well,
the only governor candidate saying that we should have this conversation about what if California has to go independent. NICKOLAS WILDSTAR.
Yes, indeed. I mean, it adds more meat to our argument here about our privacy. And Sam is right. It's sad that the argument is, well, if you have nothing to hide, then you should be okay with us sifting through your privacy. And that's just absurd. We should still have the natural right, the inalienable right, the God-given right to privacy, to anonymity, to us being able to keep what we want to have private, be private. And it's unfortunate that we have a government that feels as if they are able to violate that right at any given time. I mean, like you said, Marcus, George W. Bush did it, Obama did it, Trump did it, and now Biden is doing it. And as much as people want to champion for Trump, he didn't shut down the NSA. He didn't end the national security programs that spy on us. He authorized the Patriot Act again while he was in office, which expands that, as well as the NDAA, which pretty much labels us all as terrorists. We're considered domestic terrorists because we're anti-authoritarian. And under this domestic terrorist definition, we could all be arrested and thrown in jail without due process for an indefinite amount of time. So each administration, each president has signed off on this. And it's even more of a reason why California needs to establish its independence. That way, the people of the state can retain their privacy. They don't have to worry about government officials spying on them and, thinking they're criminals and treating them as such, versus focusing and using their resources and materials on true threats to the public safety. So thank you, Sam, for sharing that information and bringing it up. It actually ties into what I'm about to talk about.
Nick, real quick. They're flipping everything. You're guilty until proven innocent now. Okay, they flipped everything that was right about America. They flipped it on its head. They flipped our Bill of Rights on our head. So now you're not innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until proven innocent in the eyes of the tyrannical deep state, whatever you want to call them, the alphabet agencies.
Right.
Okay. and they're above the law. Okay, if you lie to the FBI, you're going to prison for a long time, and they can lie to you and nothing happens. They can set you up, and we've seen it over and over and over and over, and we see whistleblowers come out from the NSA. You got William Binney. You got a bunch of them coming out from the NSA saying, hey, they built this thing to spy on you. It's incredible tyranny. And what do? They go raid those guys. These guys should be national heroes that are telling us what the NSA is doing, but they get raided, they get demonized, and they get threatened to put in prison.
Yeah.
And their lives ruined for doing the right thing, and that's America. It's disgusting.
Or exiled, like you said, Edward Snowden. He's been on the run. He didn't get exonerated. You know, he didn't get a presidential pardon. Neither did Russ Albright. You know, another one, Julian Assange. All of these supposed terrorists and threats against America, when really they've done nothing but provide us with truth. So we definitely should be revering them as our nation's heroes. It's sad that our nation's leaders think otherwise, and that should be a big red flag.
Sam, anyone else? Any other comments? Mike, John, Jason, Robert, Rabbi, or anyone on YouTube? Is it okay that America spies on you against the law, lies to your face about this, and has done so literally through every single administration over the last 25 years? Is that cool? Is that a country you want to be part of? Does that sound like respect for the law? Does that sound like respect for your rights? Or does it sound like something else? Perhaps a country that you were told isn't good.
I'd like to say for folks that are watching internationally, the United States of America has a vast system of laws that are very, very comprehensive. Some might even say too comprehensive. The United States government also says that there is no exception to the law, except for when they decide they need an exception to the law. No matter what level of law it is, the United States government can and will make an exception for themselves whenever they see fit, which means the law is not actually the law, because a law to actually be legitimate must be like enforced and agreed upon, you know, it has to be like accepted. And here's the government saying, oh, yes, this is law. I mean, not for us. Which means, by actual technical definition, technically, none of it's law. It's just the United States of tyranny.
They love that rhetoric of no one's above the law, but then you're like, hey, FBI here, NSA here, Department of Justice there, you all broke the law, and they're like, well, maybe they could get a transfer, or I mean, a couple people got fired here and there, but nobody ever faces serious prison time for violating our rights. We have a Bill of Rights, right, established, and how Nicholas said earlier, we have inalienable rights given to us by our creator, natural rights. And the government's only job is to protect those rights, and they're violating all of that. We don't even have a country. We don't have a legitimate federal government. Okay, they are not legitimate according to the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, damn, Jason, that was really strong. Good talk. Sam, wow, you're on fire. Nick, wow, you're on fire. I always like to do teaching moments. This is what I dreamed of. Californians coming together and just passionately debating information that's coming out and just educating everyone in California, the world, about facts. Facts. You may not like what we're saying, but we're not lying. No one here's lying. Everything you're hearing is true. It is happening. Perhaps the news isn't telling you about it, but it's true and it's happening. This is the United States of America. And when you're making decisions about how American you want to be and how attached, you should be aware of what you're buying. That's only fair and reasonable. Let's go to a few comments, and then we'll move on to Nick.
Marcus, let me throw this in real quick. For all the Constitution and Founding Fathers' faults, which there are many, the one thing that everybody needs to recognize, they understood human nature. And human nature has not changed. The technology has changed. Human nature has not changed. And they put in the safeguards against tyrannical government that are being violated every day by the federal government and state government and local governments. Okay, so one thing we need to recognize is the brilliance of the Founding Fathers recognizing human nature and constructing a system which we basically have destroyed to combat tyranny. And I wanted to say that.
That's what we're here for. We're here to have these conversations. So we shifted away from you have to believe to let's just talk about after January 6th, what we're seeing and how you feel about that. And as I pointed out, the museum exhibit on the Free State of California by Cole Sternberg literally said after January 6th, we're not sure how stable America is. And John Powell, one of the preeminent legal historians and scholars out of UC Berkeley here in California, said, I'm not sure how stable America is. Additionally, multiple policy magazines said that. So we're continuing that conversation, and it's a reasonable conversation to have. Okay, one more comment, and then we're going to go to Nick. Yeah, I was at Nick's for a potluck yesterday. This is a continuation of that. You're right, Yeshua. You know, there's a lot of Fresnans coming up in Calexit. What are they? Okay, let's go to Nick WildStar. NICKOLAS WILDSTAR is a candidate for governor. And what you should know about him is that he's been one for a while. Now, the recall election is going to go through. We predicted here at Yes California that it would when nobody else was doing that. We also held the recall candidates debate. We were widely chastised by other liberals for doing that. But after we did it, they said, fair job, balanced job, good information, educating the public. And now other people are running for governor months after we said it, people who criticized us for backing this. And now other people are hosting debates months after Yes California did that. So again, it was a prediction. And we were able to do that and jump in because NICKOLAS WILDSTAR was here. He was in the movement. He was in the YesCAL Calexit Congress. He told us that this is happening, and we listened. So let's go to Nick WildStar, governor candidate who's the real deal, has been there from the beginning. Nick, what's going on? What would you like to talk about today?
Well, thank you for lending me your ears as always, everyone. I appreciate your time, and I will be brief. I have a timer here, so I'm going to go ahead and get that started. But I was talking to Marcus recently about an idea that was provided to me by one of my campaign staffers, because as Marcus said, I am running for California governor. And I did run for governor in 2018. I was the Libertarian candidate, and I ran in 2014 as an independent. So when it comes to political party affiliation or identity, I consider myself a kind of like a floater. And I think the majority of voters can identify with that and feel that way also. They don't feel committed to one party in particular, more so the ideals that they propose. And they all revolve around freedom, liberty, and justice for all, things that we can all agree on, that Sam pointed out, which is the framework laid down by our nation's founders to pretty much play on our human, interactions, things about us that don't ever change with regards to our human nature. So the rules are there, they're set in stone, and we now have a government that's acting outside of that rule book. So we need to get them back in line, but we have to do that. We, the people, they aren't going to do it themselves, or else they would have done it already. They don't feel responsible or compelled to do so because everybody's compliant, obedient, and not making a fuss about it. There's factions of us that are, as far as population is concerned. You maybe have 20% of people on the far left and 20% of people on the far right. But the other 60% of us is still feeling as if we don't belong in either one of those extremities. So basically, when it comes to strategy and us getting organized here in the state, how are we going to be able to get back control over our political system? Right now, we have pretty much a one-party government, with the Democrats being in control of our legislative body, our judicial body, as well as our executive body, with the Governor Newsom here. So since he is going to be recalled, most likely the signatures that have been confirmed recently, which is about 1.6 million, will still stand and meet the threshold of 1.4 million, which is needed over the next 30 days. So right now, people are allowed the opportunity to withdraw their signature from that recall. Most likely that will not happen, but after this 30-day signature withdrawal period is up, then it will be confirmed that this special election will be happening. There's already one already scheduled by Newsom for a Senate seat at the 18th district. So because that's already being scheduled, there's a primary for that in June, and then an actual runoff election in August. The special election could be coupled with that August election. Okay, so that's our target date. Reason why I say that is because we the people, the boots on the ground, we need to get organized on taking control of our political parties on the grassroots level. Right now, the Democrats, of course, are already having tens of millions of dollars poured into a anti-recall effort and campaign, where they're running commercials and got billboards, and Newsom is going around making press appearances, basically talking about how this is a right-wing Trump supporter, Republican effort to remove him from office. Of course, that's not true. Many of us that do want to get him out of office, that don't fall under that category, we need to get involved with the Republican Party. This is why I'm saying this, is because Marcus, can you share my screen if you would?
Nick, you're a conspiracy theorist. We're supposed to operate the government under emergency order forever. All right.
Right.
I'm not sure if I can share screen. If you can post me a link, I can definitely put it up. Can you post it in the private chat?
I shared it. All you have to do is I guess allow me to.
Okay, let me see. So if I go to share screen, see in share screen, window, YesCAL snipping tool. I'm not seeing it. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I'm putting the link in the chat. If you could click.
There you go. All right. And I just need to point out real quick. Yes, California has not officially backed the recall. We held a debate because it's an important issue, and we wanted people to get the facts. And we were abhorred that the California government and the governor said that everybody who's interested in this is a white supremacist. My mother's Mexican. She voted for this. Nick WILDSTAR is African American. He voted for this. I've gone to many of the booths where it was the recall debate. Half those people were Mexican, and they were not wearing MAGA hats and talking about how white supremacy is what motivates them. Didn't happen. At the same time, yes, there are Republicans backing this, and many Californians are very happy with the job Newsom did and felt that he kept us protected. Obviously, not everyone. And yes, California is dedicated to including all Californians in this conversation. And so we welcome all viewpoints to educate you. Just needed to get that out there. Nick WILDSTAR, let me show that screen.
I'd just like to say for clarity for everyone real quick, I may be predominantly white, but I've been registered to the Green Party since I was 18. I am not a Demopublican. I am not a Republican. And for the first time ever in my life, I can actually safely say I'm planning on casting a vote for a Republican candidate. not because I'm a Republican, not because I believe in the Republican Party, but because the guy who I support, gubernatorial candidate NICKOLAS WILDSTAR, he's running under the Republican ticket. That's why. It's more about the issue and less about the party.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Jason. And that's what I'm
Let me
saying.
add, that's the only choice we have, the way the
Feel that way.
system's structured.
I just want to let you know, we are mostly progressive. We support California values. We would never support racism or white nationalism, ever. And while we have a few Trump voters, that didn't happen here, and it's not allowed here. And we're largely disgusted that you would portray people using the constitutional system of California as insurrectionists, and that you would portray at least half of the population choosing this who have brown skin as white nationalists. I view it as personally an insult. My mother's Mexican. She is not motivated by white nationalism, and yet she was called a white nationalist. So is Nick. And I've seen people yell in Nick's face that he is a racist and a Nazi when none of that's true, because the newspaper told him that. That's disgusting, and it's not a California value at all. You don't have to like the recall. You can say the recall's a bad idea. We don't need to do it. It costs too much. I like Gavin Newsom keeping us safe. That's fine. That is your opinion. But when you start saying that when you file an initiative that's based in law, that it's the same as an insurrection, that is misleading and is a total lie. And when you say that everybody who backs this is all Republicans bent on white nationalism, that too is a lie. And lying is not a California value. It is okay for Californians who are minorities to have different opinions than what CNN or MSNBC or ABC, CBS may think they should have. It's okay. So I want to be clear. We are not endorsing the recall, but we are endorsing Californians' right to have opinions and to call their officials out and to hold their elected officials to some sort of accountability. How horrible to do that in a democracy. NICKOLAS WILDSTAR.
Right. And that's what we need to be doing. I think it was said earlier that if we happen to be put in a position financially where we're unable to afford being able to compete against these political parties, then they're going to be the ones in control. And we know that these political parties are pretty much funded and operated by large corporations who could care less about us and more about their own interests. So this link that Marcus just brought up and is showing you guys is of an organization or actually a very well-known podcast called The War Room Pandemic. It's hosted by Steve Bannon, who used to be on the Trump administration and also operates a very well-known conservative website. So he actually brings on the organizer for this precinct strategy program. His name is Dan Schultz. He's an attorney. He's also a Trump supporter. But what he has done is he has organized this Network America to pretty much get Trumpsters to get involved in their local Republican parties, to take it over on the grassroots level. This is the plan that we need to be incorporating here in California. California Republicans are not like national Republicans. The majority of Republicans here don't care about, marijuana use or, sexuality, whatever the case may be. We just feel like government needs to be out of it, out of personal choices, out of people's pocketbooks. And that's what's most important. So California Republicans have their own specific set of ideals and values that they want to see from their government. They aren't seeing it right now from the Democratic Party, and most likely they won't be seeing that from any Republican candidate if they're not able to challenge the Democrats and get them elected. So, but that candidate has to be electable, in which case they must also be one that can reach across the political aisle. I believe that I'm that candidate, and if given the opportunity to, that's my timer here. Give me just a moment. All right. I believe if given the opportunity to speak with more people, of course, then we would be able to expand that. So what I'm planning to do, even though I'm not a Republican Party member, is join the Republican Party. Political party memberships are annual, meaning yearly. So if anyone would like to help uh, shift the influence and power of the Republican Party to support a candidate such as myself, I'm asking you to get involved with me and getting involved in the Republican Party on a precinct level. If you become a precinct committeeman or chairman, then you'll be able to choose the delegates that are sent to support the candidates, whether it be for a statewide nomination or a presidential election. The delegates are the ones who nominate that candidate. Even though there won't be a nominated Republican candidate for the recall election, we can position ourselves now for next year, for 2022. But also by getting involved now, we will be able to hopefully inspire others that are involved in the local Republican Party, or maybe not even those that are, to support a Republican candidate. That being me, since I'm running as a Republican. So if you want to help be instrumental in shifting the Republican Party, basically taking over a political party and using it and wielding it towards some sort of a change that we would like to see happen, then I ask you please to again join me in this effort. You can visit the website that Marcus had showed you guys. Also, there's another one here that I'm putting in the chat, Marcus, that you're able to share. Or, of course, you can just contact me. Email me, wildstar@governorwildstar.com, and we'll talk more.
I need to point out, so the reason that I really like this idea from Nick was that Nick is like me. We are fiscal conservatives. We believe in economics. We are disgusted by bigotry, racism, discrimination, dog whistling, and white supremacy. Now, I quit the Republican Party in 2012 before anyone ever heard of Trump because I thought Romney was tailoring to racism, and the Republican Party was really moving away from African-American churches and Latinos workers. And so I figured that's bigotry. We are not saying jump in bed with the Republican Party because you feel that they're bigots. What we're saying is the Republican Party backed Trump in California. That's seen as bigotry. That's a mistake. No government works with one party. Democracy requires a contest of ideas. It requires checks and balances. There is no democratic system that functions that has one party and no checks and no balances and everyone agrees and everything. Oh, well, I mean, communist China does it. But if you want a functional democracy, you need to have dynamic tension between ideas. Effectively, we don't have a second party. We have one party, which means that's not good for democracy. So be a Democrat. Love the Democrats. Vote for Newsom. Think it's great. But recognize a functional government has dynamic tension of ideas. That's gone. Has to be replaced. The Republican Party made a horrible mistake in saying, well, we're going to back Trump in California. That wiped them out. And so what Nick's saying is we need a functional government with dynamic tension of ideas. The only way to do that is to restore the Republican Party. And the only way to do that is to let them know that we are against bigotry and discrimination while working for lower government, lower regulations, something Calexit has always been for. And that's why we should try to take it over and reform the Republican Party so they are in line with California values. I want to be clear to all. This is a progressive plan. Nick, am I getting this wrong? Am I saying something wrong? Is this not what you're talking about?
No, that's spot on. Thank you for putting it in a nutshell. But yes, that's correct. We want to position ourselves politically, and right now the Republican Party is wide open. It's pretty much defunct in the state. Trump did not win California because the Republican Party isn't that organized. So what we want to do is adopt their strategy, what the Trumpsters are doing nationwide and other more red states and more red areas where they're able to actually win seats, and do that here with the state of California. If we can, unseat Newsom and instill our own governor candidate, now we become a force to reckon with. And like I said, we're nothing but a mobile block of voters. We are not committed to one particular political party. Right now, we're using the Republican Party as a vessel, as a tool to achieve our goals. If it's not me and some other candidate that gets elected, then we choose another party. Maybe the Democratic Party, since Newsom won't be there anymore, or the Libertarian Party, or the Green Party. But this is an opportunity for all of those people that are feeling displaced by political parties to, again, use their voice, use their lobbying power, their voting power in a constructive way. This is it. And that's what I'm saying is, if we look at what this guy, Dan Schultz and Steve Bannon and the Network America, what they're doing across the country, if we were to incorporate that in any way, shape, or form here in California, we could make tremendous waves. And that's what we want to do, is just, again, put that shift of power towards us. And if, yes, California members were involved in this, then we would be able to make sure that whatever candidates that are being supported also support the Calexit movement and California independence, right? So do you see the amount of leverage we would create just by getting involved with the party? And this isn't for the people that, are passive about it. If you're active and, can commit to showing up at a meeting once a month, then that's really all it takes, but when it comes to political change in our state, we can't just talk about it. We have to take action. And a lot of people that have been involved with the recall effort are kind of feeling like their hands are tied. What's next? What can they do to not let this opportunity be stolen away from them by the elites, by the super political parties or political machine? The way to do that is use our people power, which they don't have, to take it over. So again, if you'd like to find out more about that strategy, please contact me. You're welcome to join my campaign staff, Team WildStar.
Type in your email, Nick, if you would. Type your email in private chat and I'll post it.
Yes, for sure. And as I said, you can visit my website, wildstar2022.com, and just fill out a pledge card, and, we can talk more.
And I want to repeat again, you do not have to like the Republican Party. You don't have to like Trump. Nick and I hated Trump, and we hated him for the bigotry. And I left the Republican Party. Right? Nick did not vote for Trump. I did not vote for Trump. We both thought he was a bigot. Now look at us. That ain't white skin. Ooh, okay. So I'm just putting this out there. Like, you can believe in low taxes and low regulations and not have to say, well, white nationalism is also good. That's all we're saying. The Republican Party used to be, although it tolerated racism for a while, the counterbalance on taxes and regulation. We wanted to return to that. And in fact, I would encourage all liberals and all progressives to join us, even if you hate the Republicans, because what we're trying to do is bring them more in line with California. We're trying to make them get rid of the bigotry and the racism and the discrimination. We are not saying we love that and want more of that. We're saying, gotta go. No place for that in California. Get. And if you're going to be here, you better start acting like a Californian. So I encourage all progressives to back us on this. It's the right thing to do if you back California values. And all you're doing is making the government work better. And in no way is this supporting bigotry. In fact, it's the opposite. And to prove that, Nick, I know, Sam, but you know the thing. I got to point this out. I know most of us are progressive. This is a progressive idea. They just heard Trump and Republicans. And I'm talking to most of our members to let them know this is in line with California values. It's not. So we're not going in that way. We're going in. So, Nick, just to prove how much of a progressive Californian, I'd like you to quickly repeat the fight against discrimination that you did recently you made an announcement as a political candidate calling out another well-known libertarian candidate for something horrible that he said. And that put you in a bad spot with the entire Libertarian Party. And I remember you talking to me about it for months, but you made the decision that standing for racial progress was a California value and was the thing to do. And you did it, even though you knew it would cost you dearly. Nick, what thing did you do supporting California values and against bigotry that cost you politically that I think everybody should know when they're talking about, well, how dedicated to California values is Nick? Nick, what did you do recently and how badly did it cost you, but you did the right thing anyways? Sir?
Well, I actually had a trial over me recording in court, which is a constitutionally protected right under the First Amendment, freedom of freedom to press, as well as the Sixth Amendment, the right to a speedy and public trial. So I recorded some court cases and was found or charged with contempt of court, and then had a trial recently where I was found guilty for that. I had a sentencing hearing and was asking people to write letters of leniency to let the judge know that, you know, I'm a good guy. And then basically I shouldn't be thrown in jail for exercising my constitutionally protected rights. And there was one libertarian in particular that chose to write a letter against leniency. And I felt like it was antithetical to what the Libertarian Party stands for, which is that people shouldn't be charged for victimless crimes. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. It's a waste of resources. And it's a violation of what we, the people, stand for, which is equality and justice. So when this happened, I called him out, you know, and again, I'm not committed to any one particular party more than I am the principles that I stand for and promote as a candidate, regardless of political party affiliation. And in doing so, of course, I lost a few supporters, but I gained many others, you know, and also in letting them know that that's something that Yes California stands for, is the, you know, the expulsion of those nonviolent victimless crimes that tend to have targeted, you know, people of color, lower income people, people that are unable to afford legal representation. So that's something that the organization stands for. And I believe that, again, that's something that we can take with us wherever we go, whether it be the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party, whatever party, because we're going to be standing for that principle regardless. And that's why I'm encouraging everyone that does feel this way to use the Republican Party as a vehicle to leverage against the Democratic Party, which has a stronghold over our state, to regain political power, as well as instill those California values that we believe in.
So Nick was in Orange County, one of the most bigoted counties in all of California. Yeah, I can prove that. And he stood up to discrimination. And you can watch the video where the cops are kind of harassing him. And Nick's sitting next to a panel of African Americans and Mexican people who are low income and saying, you know, you have rights, right? They can't talk to you this way. They can't treat you this way. So watch the video of Nick standing up to law enforcement on behalf of Mexicans and African Americans in court. And then talk to me about how this is some secret plan to support white nationalism. But Nick, I was hoping you could also talk about how recently you outed a high-ranking libertarian as saying something offensive. I think when you were first introduced to him, he used a particular word starting with the N letter. I won't express that word. I'll leave that to you. But you outed him, and that cost you dearly. But you did it because it was bigotry to look the other way. So I'm just saying, I want to showcase who we are. People hear Republican, they hear talking to conservatives, they hear fiscal, oh, white nationalists. What? No. Let's get it right. Who are you talking about? We are people who stand for California values, but still believe in low taxes and regulation, and that'll make us nationalists or white supremacists. Nick, who did you out recently And how did it cost you? If you're willing to talk about it, sir.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I posted recently about this libertarian. His name is Jeff Hewitt. He's actually, I guess, being considered as a candidate for the Libertarian Party for governor. I've met Jeff Hewitt before several times, and upon my first time meeting him, when I first joined the Libertarian Party and went to my first Libertarian function, was introduced to him, and he made a comment that was very uncalled for and insulting. And he basically made a comment about how now, because I'm there, he can use the N-word and not feel bad about it. So, of course, this put a bad taste in my mouth, and just seeing and meeting him frequently after then, I had noticed that he was the type of person that would say things that are inappropriate and unsettling, but nobody would say anything about it because they considered him as being a high-ranking, I guess, official or a public figure in the party. And like I said, now since he's been being recruited to run for governor, I feel like it is my responsibility to make this information public, because if he were elected governor, that's somebody that's going to be in a position to where, again, they're making executive choices for the rest of the people in this state. And if they have a type of mindset that's bigoted and, prejudiced, then at some point that's going to come to light. And just recently, there were some sexual allegation lawsuits against him by, I guess, one of his staffers, since he's currently a board member, county, Riverside County supervisor. So he's an elected official as a Riverside County supervisor, and has 2 sexual harassment allegation lawsuits against him. So, like I said, it was bound to come up to the surface sooner or later. We're seeing that now, with him being a Riverside County supervisor, were he to become governor. I'm pretty sure more of that would happen and come to light. But we can't allow those type of personalities to, excel. And if we continue to promote them, then we are the ones to blame for that. If we want to properly vet our candidates and our representatives to make sure that they are holding true to what they say and being, honorable people, noble people, then we have to look at the evidence before us and, use that to sort of balance our decision. So recently I made this information public, as I said, upset a lot of people, but I feel like, again, we shouldn't be burying this type of activity and these type of characters under the rug and pushing them aside to think that things are going to get better. That's been happening since this entire time, and it's only made things worse. So we need to get back to being ethically balanced, but that starts first with us picking people that express that moral turpitude, A
lot of people thought, well, you had a few Trump voters, and you keep saying low taxes and low regulation, and you're hanging out with people who did recall, and you're saying Republicans can have California values too. And we all know what that means. And I want to shut that down hard. NICKOLAS WILDSTAR went to Orange County, one of the most racist, institutionally racist, bigoted places in California left. Also, Donald Trump's favorite resting stop, by the way, a lot of evidence to that. And he challenged the court system for how they treated Mexicans and indigenous African-American people. Later on, he outed the highest-ranking Libertarian Party candidate for using the N-word, knowing that that would severely damage his candidacy. Why did he do it? Because they were California values, and he's a Californian. So when we're talking about white nationalists and Republicans, I want you to get this straight. We're talking about reform, and you should know exactly what you're judging us based on. Nick, am I saying anything wrong? Is that not a fair summary?
No, you are absolutely right. We need to reform our political system from the bottom up, you know?
Okay. Any other comments before we go to the next presenter?
I got a comment.
Please.
As serious adults, you should know better than to use derogatory language toward anyone.
Right.
Yeah,
Go without
this is
saying.
California. Nick had another candidate he was running against, and the guy said, you can't control your wife on Twitter. And I was like, you're done.
Oh, yeah.
You're done. There are things you don't get to do here. And that's because, I mean, you don't have to like it, but this is California. We kind of have our own way of doing things, and you don't get to butt up against that. And yeah, you're right, Sam. You're right. And
if I may say what you just attach what you just said to what I was talking about, getting involved on the precinct level, we'll be able to meet these Republican candidates that are running for governor, and we'll be able to question them about what they've done so far. And this candidate in particular, he's splurged, campaign funds on fancy hotels and fancy meals and, luxury cars, etc. So he's not a fiscal conservative. And we would be able to challenge him on that, as well as any other candidate that comes along and says that they care about our money, our tax dollars, and spending them responsibly. Okay, well, let's look at what you've done so far with your campaign funds and how you use them, because that's a perfect example. And as I said, this hopefully should be even more reason for you to be encouraged to get involved with the precinct committees wherever you are. There's over 200,000 available seats. I believe there's a few open here in Fresno, so I'll be getting involved myself. And anyone across the state that would like to get involved with your local precinct, just visit the website, networkamerica.org, or Google your local Republican Party, find out when they're going to be having their next precinct meeting and how you can get involved.
All right, thanks, Nick. I really appreciate that. Once again, WildStar at governorwildstar.com. We are trying to institute more California values and being inclusive of everyone in California. That's what we're here about. Okay, any other comments before we move on?
If I
Jason.
may,
Yeah.
I really, I don't like to make things about race, right? The reason why I'm planning on voting for Mr. WildStar is because of his stance on issues, what he feels are the important issues, right? He says, we've got certain problems in California, and I agree. And I'm like, wow, this guy has a good read on what we need. Now, I would like to point out, though I don't like to make it about race, I would like to point out to folks, California has never had a black governor. Ever. So, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. And we're not talking about just put any old person up there just to have it done. We're talking about a very smart, very well-versed, very well-educated, very passionate person who wishes to take the responsibility to try to help us all. Now, if you couldn't really decide hardcore for Mr. WildStar based just on issues, maybe there's another candidate out there who is similar enough that you're having a hard time deciding. Maybe think about the fact that rich white men, since California was annexed illegally by the United States, rich white land-owning men is what the system has been built for. They are the ones who have been running it almost exclusively. And not only that, but they still do it, and they have caused us all grief, havoc, chaos, pain, hurt, agony, you name it. They have screwed us, people. Don't you think it's time we do something different? Can't we think outside of the box? And as Californians, I might even judge that electing a black governor is not thinking outside of the box. That's just smart. So I'll leave it there.
But electing a commoner, somebody that isn't part of the elitist, you know, and isn't a career politician, is definitely out of the box. You know, I'm not a celebrity. I'm not looking to celebritize my, you know, my candidacy, as well as me being a governor, you know. But I know that it would come with the territory, especially with me being elected the first black governor of California. So my pledge to all of the people out there that may think that I'll let the stardom go to my head, I won't even care about it. I'm not going to be holding press conferences with celebrities begging for my job if I suck, like Gruesome Newsom has been doing. I'm not going to be putting out tweets to incite violence and or any of that stuff. I'll be focusing on the policies and doing my job as I should be.
Again, we are not endorsing the recall per se. We are not slamming Governor Newsom. We allow people to express their opinion. Because I'm going to get phone calls, and I'm letting people know there's a variety of opinions. This is what having a diversity of opinion is. Nobody's saying anything racist or sexist or bigoted. People are allowed to have different opinions. Yes, we are generally progressive, and everybody's allowed to speak.
Newsom's a rich white male.
Yeah. So let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. I don't want to get into it. I think we already did the recall debate. We are looking to have a second recall debate. And if you are a recall candidate, or if you know anybody willing to run for governor, one of the best actions that we did that was developed right here in this Calexit Congress was have the recall debate. We'd love to have a second one. Everybody who was part of the first one agreed to go to the second one, but we need new candidates who are not just digging in the same hole, as we use that phrase here in the Valley. If you know any candidates, please tell us. And I'm not going to get into it, but I will just say there was another group that criticized Yes California for saying the recall was going to happen, hosting the debate, or doing anything. And now that group has put their top leader as a candidate to run for governor. So they went from, oh, stupid, horrible, how dare you do that, to let's jump in on the game 3 months after Yes Cal did it. I'm not going to name names, but just to point out, people are changing their tune right after they hear our harmonica solo, to use a phrase from the Central Valley. Isn't that interesting? It's almost like we called it when no one else was going to. We stuck to our guns because we knew we were right, and we were vindicated. I wonder what other predictions we're making that are unpopular now that will also come to pass in the future. Sam, no. Sorry, I love you, brother. I'm not trying to get in trouble with YouTube. I love you. I love you. I love you, Sam. We've talked about this. Okay. I love you, Sam.
Well, that's a prediction. It's not even a prediction. It's written in the book. This is what's happening right now. So, and let me just say, I like Jack B's comments over there. Pretty good comments from Jack B.
Jack B is on fire. Yeshuan is always hot. Devil War, thank you. And Jack B's loving this stuff. Jack, please keep the comments going. And if you want, you can join the Congress. All you have to do is like California or be Californian. I'll post up my email, marcus.ruiz.evans@gmail.com. I'll get that up. And I wanted to say Nick also brought us some of our extra members. Some of the other people who joined this Congress were, frankly, Latinos who like Nick's campaign and were introduced to Calexit through Nick and then decided to join. So Nick already gets a diverse coalition of Californians, and he's already able to connect a lot of people together. I've met many people through Nick, and I'm not going to get into it. We're going to go to the next segment, but I was really upset with Governor candidate WildStar when he wouldn't let me film when Stevante Clark talked to him for 10 minutes, and it was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. It was a young African-American man speaking to an older African-American man and saying, I learned that I don't have to burn it all down. I can run for office and participate in the system and protest and demonstrate and call my legislature. And I didn't even know that the system even allowed us to make impacts like that. And I have learned so much activism from you. Now, Stevante Clark is famous, and he's doing a lot of activism. And I was there in his van on 420, no comment, when he was confiding in Nick that he learned all of this from seeing an older minority man saying, yeah, you can run for office. And yeah, no one should tell you no. And who cares what they say? It's your right. And as minorities, we should be stepping up and running for office more. And to see the youth respond to that, wow. And Nick, you deprived me of videotaping that beautiful moment and sharing it with everybody. And I can never forgive that. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Some of them are just in our hearts and minds. Unfortunately, some of the best moments are unrecorded. So
we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. Okay, moving on. Next segment here. We're going to get into some Calexit Congress business, but I need to point out a few things. So just to point out, here is the speech by Saagar Enjeti. The culture wars are killing us. Here's how we get out. I showed this a little bit earlier. This is Saagar saying that the division in America is now as bad as the Sunni-Shia divide in Iraq. The division in America is now as bad as the thing that went down in Iraq. Oh, perhaps you don't believe me. Well, here's Saagar covering it. Here's the link to the video. And here's the link to the Stanford University study. Let's take a look. Well, look at that. So here, this is Stanford University. Political sectarianism in America, the poisonous cocktail of othering, aversion, and moralization, poses a threat to democracy. Stanford University recently came out. Highly, highly respected. Oh, and here's a section on American exceptionalism. By contrast, Australia, Britain, Norway, Sweden, and Germany are exhibiting decreased sectarianism, while America is going up. So no, it's not getting worse for everybody, just mostly for us. Now, here's a chart on the rise of out-party hate. Let's take a look at that. And we can go back to 1980. So warmth toward the opposing party. So how much friendliness do you feel towards people who share political ideas totally opposite to yours? Obviously, there's division. Now, you can go back to the 1980. There was clearly a block. These lines don't match up. Here's warmth to people who don't share your political ideas. Here's warmth to people who do share your political ideas. So it's about 75% of people feel warmth or good feelings to people who share their political ideology. That's largely stayed the same from 1980 to 2020, 4 decades. Now, starting in 1980, you can see this downward trend. And then around here in 2000, it really escalates. And then here's 2016 with Trump. I want to point out, this is Trump. This is the last 30 years. So please don't say this is all Trump. This is Trump. This is the last 30 years, since the 1980s or over the last 4 decades. People have increasingly moved away from liking the other person. As you can see, we went from about 50% to damn near 25%. This is the gap. It represents about a 25% loss. And that is what Stanford University is saying, and Saagar, when they're talking about sectarianism and division in America, is now equivalent to the rates that we saw. Chance, what's up, man? Hey, Chance will only wave at me when Nick grabs his hand and waves. So thanks, Chance. Thanks, Nick.
Marcus, let me say the #1 driving factor of division in this country is the mainstream media. They're the ones dividing us up. Stop listening to your mainstream media. They're lying to you. We're not that divided.
Just passed some interesting stuff about that day in 2001. Hey, Jack B, post the link. And we'll post the link.
And
So
you
if you
know,
have any links, yeah. Jason, please.
I would also include that, you know, America just, I mean, I'm not sure entirely how to put this without sounding like I'm against America, because I'm not against America. I'm not anti-American. But like, you know, about 30 years ago, that was like Reagan, right? Reaganomics, dividing people up based on income and assigning monetary worth to people, human beings, and then, you know, creating this. I mean, the classism was there before. It's kind of always been part of America, just like racism, just like slavery, really. To this day, people are enslaved in private prison systems, and they are used as commodities to make corporations money. That is the exact thing that cotton plantation owners were doing when it came to slavery. It really seems to me like, you know, when I analyze California history and how California was when it fought and won a war against Mexico to gain its national independence, its sovereignty, right? California operated a certain way, and that way was actually very much in line with the indigenous nations who were already here, as well as, you know, it saw things like super progressive things, such as white immigrants from Europe who made it over here actually like befriended indigenous folk and learned from them, actively listened and learned from them how to better survive here, right? That's something to this day we have a hard time doing in our society as is, let alone when it comes to our indigenous brothers and sisters. America came in to California, illegally annexed us, killed off a whole bunch of people, committed genocide, put in their rich white landowning folks to make a vote happen to make California part of the United States. You know, a faulty vote, a rigged vote, nothing legitimate. And ever since then, America has imposed classism, racism, slavery, or slave mentality at least. All sorts of really, really just terrible things have come to California by way of America. I can't not point this out to folks that, you know, America really is a very classist, very racist place, and it always has been. We're only seeing, as Marcus was pointing out there in the graph, we're only seeing these last 30 years kind of snowballing, exponential growth in the divide, right? But that's just the last 30 years. It's always been around. And what this graph shows us is our need, how imperative it is for us to get up and do something about this before it's too late. It's snowballing already. It's already going into the exponentives. If we don't get together and stop it, then it's gonna crash. It's gonna hit the bottom of the hill before we know it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I just need to put up a real quick thing here. For anybody who needs to send links, or for anybody who would like to join the Calexit Congress, you can email marcus.ruiz.evans, and you can be part of this very sobering conversation where you get to hear people like Jason Wright talking about passionately what is America. Sam Chaney and NICKOLAS WILDSTAR and Robert Stark and many other Californians talking about the future of America and what does it mean, what does it not, that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. Just pointing that out. Please email us at marcus.ruiz.evans@gmail.com. Jason, more comments, brother? You're on fire today.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you know, I feel so passionately about all this stuff, partly because the way that I grew up. I was orphaned. I was forced to live with people who are not my blood, who, you know, that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes folks treat others decently because they're decent human beings. My case was not quite so fortunate. The people knew that I was not their blood, and they treated me very much differently based on the fact that I was not their blood. They were very racist, still are from what I know. I mean, I don't have any contact with them anymore, but something tells me those folks have not really changed their ways. And I was brought up to use the N-word and the S-word and to Sieg Heil and give the Hitler salute, and you know, that it was programmed into me as a child that this was the way things are. This is, you know, society. This is life. And thank God I grew up and started thinking for myself and realized, wow, that shade really does not suit me so well. But I gotta say, you know, that was here in California. Here in California, people walking around giving Nazi salute, using the N-word, and, you know, all of it. And like, you know, it's the way it is. Not, oh, don't go around saying these things out loud because people might, you know, say or do something. No, it was just, this is the way it is. And if you don't like it, you can get the hell out. I'd just like to point out that, you know, we all have a brain within our own bodies. We all have the ability to think for ourselves. If you hear me say something and I'm all passionate and fired up about it, go ahead and research it, look into it, see for yourself if what I am saying is true or not, right? Really, utilize your brain. I try to utilize mine as best as I possibly can. I know tons of folks do, right? And I'm not saying it like no one's using their brain. I'm just saying it is imperative right now for all of us Californians to wake up, open our eyes, use our brains as efficiently and effectively as possible, and really realize there are problems and we need a solution fast. Not just any solution will do. We need an actually viable, good solution. And, you know, most of the problems, the root of the solution, the tap root of the solution plant, actually is called independence. Just saying.
Nice. Nice. Okay, excellent. All right, we're going to get to the last segment right now. We're going to go into the Calexit Congress, where we're going to talk about publicity ideas, the online courses for certification in secession, the only ones offered anywhere in California and America. And then we will be talking about proposed resolutions and joint statements. Robert Stark made a proposed resolution, and Jason helped draft a awesome draft statement for a unity speech with Baja Independence. And we'll get to that in just 1 second. So we're going to cover resolution proposal by Robert Stark. We're going to cover a joint statement draft written by Jason Wright. But first, we're going to cover the online courses in secession. So let me pull that up real quick. And oops, wrong button. Actually, let me kill this here. So we're going to go to the next section, which is online courses in Secession. This is the last part of the show. Let me show that right now. Share screen, share screen. Okay, so this is the email that came out recently, Yes California. Soon you'll be able to earn certificates online with Yes California, on-demand courses where we will be teaching you about the U.S. Constitution, UN Charter, independence movements from Catalonia to California, peaceful breakup of Czechoslovakia and Scottish independence. We are developing courses for are under development, and they will make you educated on secession, secession law, modern independence movements, what are the legal aspects of secession, and what does America say. The courses are being developed over 10 years of experience. In addition, we are working with California University professors to help make sure that this comes across as a good course. So this email went out recently from Yes California. It says, check out the brochure. Let me stop that real quick. Let me show you this here. Okay. So this is the brochure. We recently sent this out. It's Yes California, on-demand online courses. This is a little bit wordy, but basically what it says is that empires fall and that you've seen a lot of division and unrest in America, especially with the coup. And we have courses to educate you. We didn't say you have to believe in it. We're just going to give you what the rules are if you needed to go independent, international law, American law, and what California knows about these things. And a lot of material that people don't know. It's start anytime, self-paced, 8 to 12 hour time commitment, learn from experts, 60 days to complete the course, certificate of completion, and then they look at who should attend. This is designed to offer flexible learning for future activists, leaders, and motivated Californians wishing to learn more. On-demand courses enable you to launch your educational jaunt at your convenience and pace. Created and refined by the top experts on the topic of California secession with over 10 years of experience, the course's design will bring insight. It's for people who want the knowledge and insight you need to be able to confidently discuss secession, independence, and self-determination in North America. It's also people who recognize that California has a different set of values than America, and people who are concerned about the long-term stability of America. We're still finalizing this, but here's a little bit of a look at the courses: Secession of the Constitution, Self-Determination in the Modern World, Conquering California, the Path to Statehood, and California on the World Stage. This is a brochure that we made. We released this in a mass email to about 90 to 100,000 people to let them know that the courses are coming. And we designed this off a Stanford brochure, although all the pictures and the material is different. And this was in order to let people know that the courses are highly professional and coming very soon. Any comments from anyone about the online courses?
It's highly impressive what you put together there, and it's a valuable resource that I plan on utilizing. So thumbs up to you, Marcus. Very impressive.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to keep working on it. We have the PowerPoints laid out. I showed you in an earlier meeting. We have the script already done. We've outlined 3 different potential spokespeople, and we've already allocated money to hiring those spokespeople. This month, we will begin reaching out to people and asking them to do the voiceovers. So you're going to get a slide. It's going to have a picture and a few words that say roughly what you're learning about. And then there will be a person who appears right after that slide who literally talks to you about the information while we continue to display graphics behind it. So you'll have a spokesperson. They'll be speaking right after you see a pretty picture, telling you what you're going to learn. They'll go over the facts. It won't be very long, but you'll hear them speaking in a easy to understand manner, and we'll have some photos behind that. Takes you a couple minutes to go through the course. After each course, you get a certificate after you complete a questionnaire. So you'll have a bunch of slides to go through and listen and watch, and then it'll go to a page and it'll say 4 questions for you, yes or no, or multiple choice. You have to click the right answers. If you don't get the certificate, but you can just take the test over again. So when you get the test right, you get a certificate. After you complete all 4 courses, each with its own certification, there will be a honorary degree that is printed out for you. And what we're doing is we're noticing a lot of people are doing online courses. We've already looked at different software, Thinkable, Teachable, and Podia, in addition to WordPress from Kate Hill. Thank you, Kate, an American who's trying to help Californians succeed, giving us some information. All of this is coming. So we have the spokespeople identified. We have the text that will be shown. We have the speeches already written out. We are identifying a spokesperson and getting them to record it. That should be coming out this month. We will be inserting real-life spokespeople, teaching you into the PowerPoint slides, and we've already identified the software, and our goal is to have all this up and complete by the end of the month. Now, it may not happen that quickly. I'm always ambitious, but you now know everything we've done, where it's going, and you can see the progress that we're doing on this. Sam just gave it a compliment, and Kokesh also said he wanted to take the course. And I got to tell you, no one's offering this. Nobody. There is no online course in secession law or independence movements around the world or how the UN allows you to secede. There is no online course. No one talks about this. We will literally be the only game in town on the planet. Huge publicity opportunity. Additionally, we just released our book, The Progressive Solution. We're also modifying the cover for that. That'll be coming out. And many of you have edited that book, and we will be releasing revised text of The Progressive Solution and a revised cover of The Progressive Solution coming soon. So we already published the book on Amazon in partnership with Liberty Block, but a new cover's coming, designed by Christine Howard Ishmawi. And we have text that's already been reviewed by many of you, including people like Brett Pike. So we're going to upgrade that book based upon a team effort coming very soon. In addition, I talked to Dewank Mahajan. Dewank has been suffering through the COVID-19 epidemic in India. It's horrible over there. People are dying en masse. He is safe, and our thoughts and prayers go out to him and the people of India. Dewank was a little bit predisposed because of that, but I talked to him this week. He is back on making a Yes California logo, the blue seal with the yes word in it in white, with the shape of California as part of the yes, as a non-fungible token. We will have one. It will be an NFT, and it is coming out soon by a data programmer, Dewank, who's already identified a computer programmer in Vietnam to help him make it. So we got an excellent book aimed at progressives, why you should support Calexit. We're going to have online courses teaching the world about Calexit. That's from Yes. And we will be the only Calexit group with a non-fungible token of our logo coming up. In addition, we were recently accepted to the Pork Fest, the largest secession conference in America. We were accepted, and they talked about us on their social media feed. So Yes, California has a book. Yes, California has a non-fungible token coming out. Yes, California is already accepted to the largest secession conference in America. And yes, California will be teaching online courses and will be the only group doing so on the surface of the earth. I don't think that's that bad after only being up for about 2.5 months. That's just my opinion. So let's get into Congress business now that we did some updates. Actually, is there any other comments on the courses from anybody before we start going into proposed resolutions?
I have just one really, really quick comment. Winning.
And let me make it real boring. It ain't me. It's you. I don't know how to do an NFT. I didn't even know what an NFT was. Someone told me from Congress. Then I asked if anybody knew it, and someone says, yes, I can do it. And then I talked to them, and they told me some stuff, and then I asked another congressperson, and we developed that. I didn't have time to write a book. Someone came to the Congress and said, I want to write a book. And then other people said, I'll edit it. And then someone else said, I'll make the cover. And that's the only reason we have a book up in a month. I didn't know how to design courses. I knew a lot of the data, I packaged it, but now we have someone else saying, here's how you put courses online. And here's how courses are programmed. And here's what students expect to see. And we already had a bunch of editors and other people jumping in on that. And I didn't make PorcFest happen. That was the Rabbi Stephen Axelman who put that together. He proposed that here at Calexit, reached out on behalf of Calexit, 2 other people, got us involved, talked to the Texas nationalist movement, got them going, and then put us all together. So I didn't really do any of this. I did heavy lifting. A lot of these jobs required just to, get it up. But I was a member of a team. None of these were my ideas. I never would have thought of them. Other people did it. Other people made it happen. I was one of 5 to 6 people on this. So basically, we wouldn't have done any of this if it wasn't for you. A lot of people go, wow, you got all these ideas. No, I don't. They're your ideas. I just put them together with the right people. That's all I did. So please keep coming up with ideas. Please keep suggesting ideas, because the NFT, the book, the courses, the going to the conference, I didn't think of any of that. You all did. And all I had to do was say, come and propose it and push it together. So it's teamwork and it's happening, and it ain't me, it's you. That's fact. 4 top-level Calexit publicity projects put together by the Yes California Calexit Congress within months of its birth. It is hashtag winning, and it's because of hashtag coming together as a team of Californians and Americans who we love and love here in California. Any other comments?
It's impressive what you've been able to do with Yes California in a short amount of time here.
Yeah, and if I may add in on what Sam just said there, it proves beyond the shadow of a doubt, for 100% fact, it proves that there is no reason to be flaking off, farting around, taking months and months or years to do something. A book, an NFT, largest secession meeting in North America. Huge things coming together in a snap. There is no excuse. Just saying.
Teamwork. Jack B says, I love you all coming together regardless of party. You stand for the principles, not the party. That's one of the things that I love. We have a diverse coalition here. I was told, do not bring Americans in. Do not bring conservatives in. Only liberal, hardcore Californians who are hardcore lefties. And I go, why can't that just be the majority? Why does that have to be everybody? And we got so slammed by talking to conservatives in California, in America, listening to them. And we kept saying, I thought California values were building bridges and not walls. You sound like an American. Whew, that didn't go over well. But it is a California value. We do build bridges. We do reach out. Telling people I hate you and will have nothing to do with you is not a California value. And what I love is that in a time when people are going, wow, division is so bad, we might face a civil war, we're the only ones saying, you know what, when we got trash talk, we still did what we thought was right, which is reach out to conservatives and say, let's peacefully divorce. Everybody else is saying we're approaching Civil War II, and I hate that other side and never listen to them or talk to them. Well, one group's going to get us to people shooting each other, and one group's going to get us to not having people shoot each other. And I'm very proud that Yes California is on the side of history that says peace, dialogue, peaceful divorce, while a bunch of California liberals are saying, let's put more fuel on that fire, and then let's put some napalm, because screw the other side. You're going to get people killed, and we're going to keep Californians alive. I'm proud to take the stance that we did here at Yes California. Thank you, Jack B. Okay, moving on. We're almost done. I need to go to a proposed resolution by Robert Stark, and then we'll talk about a speech that Jason Wright wrote to the Movimiento de Independencia de Baja Peninsula, MIBC. But first, proposed resolution by Robert Stark. We were talking about censorship And I just want to show you some of the text that Robert's looking at and see how people feel. It starts off in the aftermath of the Capitol Hill riots. The Biden-Harris administration has proposed one of the most draconian crackdowns on civil liberties in the name of fighting domestic extremism. The implications are dire for the civil rights of American citizens and demonstrate that the soft power of the American establishment is unable to hold the nation together. The abuse of civil liberties is often a sign that a nation can't work, broken due to polarization, and that hard power is needed to maintain order and cohesion. California values stand for civil liberties, and these measures on behalf of the Biden-Harris administration are blatant violations of the civil rights of Californians. You can email me at marcus.ruiz.evans if you'd like to join our resolution committee. That's every Tuesday night at 7. Every Tuesday night at 7. Every Tuesday night at 7, you can propose any resolutions. This was a resolution proposed by Robert Stark. We just saw how the Biden administration...
7 p.m. Pacific time. Sorry to cut you off.
7 p.m. Pacific time. Every Tuesday. Sam, you posted a link, odyssey.com. What is that?
That's an up-and-coming video hosting platform that that everybody needs to go take a look at. That doesn't censor you the same way that YouTube likes to censor. Seems like everything nowadays.
Okay. All right. Thank you. What do you guys think about this resolution by Robert Stark? I'll put some of the text up. He's basically talking about why is it okay to unconstitutionally spy on people? That's unconstitutional. That's a violation of our rights. Is it okay for people to have their rights taken away, be spied on, like the Stasi in East Germany, like the Cheka during Stalin, like the thought police in the Japanese Empire, like the stormtroopers in the Nazi Reich, or is it not okay to do that? And clearly it's unconstitutional. This isn't a question. It was clearly unconstitutional. They did it anyways, spying on you, lying to you, destroying your rights without letting you know. Is that cool? Thoughts, feelings about the resolution from people in the Congress. Do you hate it? Do you love it? Do you think it's okay to move forward? And we'll start asking people for a vote.
I love it. And the thing that Democrats need to understand is just because supposedly you're oppressing your political opponent now, if the other side gets back in power, it can easily be turned against you. I wish people would grasp this basic concept, and we need to stand up for the civil liberties of everyone, regardless if you disagree with everything they say, because it can easily be turned against you if you're using the power of the state to oppress your, quote, political adversary.
I wholeheartedly agree with what Sam just said there and would like to take it one step further and say not if the other side takes back the power, but when. Because if they push me, pull you, right? It's the tug of war. And when tug of war starts, it's the little tug left, the little tug right. But the point we're at now, some of the right is crossing over the middle line, and then the right pulls back harder. Now some of the left is crossing over the middle line, right? It's only a matter of time before it's 100% solid blue and then flips back to 100% solid red and then back to 100% solid blue again. And that is going to be detrimental for literally everybody.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Moving on to, I'm going to show there's a draft statement. So MIBC recently made a video. It's a high production quality video. I'll try to find a link here in a second. And they offered to make another high production quality video for a joint statement between Yes California and the Movement for Baja Independence. Quatamek Morgan, who's a YesCAL Congress member, sent us a text. We looked at that, and here is a draft. This is a draft. This is a draft. This is not the final statement. It's a draft, not the final statement, just presenting how we work through the process of getting resolutions out. Statements for speeches. So let me share screen and I'll walk you through that real quick. Okay. I'm hoping everybody can see this. So this is the statement we developed. It originally came from a draft from Cuauhtemoc Morgan. We went over it at the Resolutions Committee every 7 p.m. Pacific time, Tuesday at 7 p.m., Resolutions Committee, Jason Wright, Robert Stark, Christine Howard-Schmaui, and you can see where I took a draft of Cuauhtemoc's, and then Jason rewrote the draft, and then Robert looked at that. So Cuauhtemoc made a draft, then I made a draft, then Jason made a draft, then Robert looked at it. And we're getting closer, not saying this is the final, but here's roughly the draft. Yes, California recognizes that we Californians have a common origin with the rest of the Baja Peninsula. For a time, all of Baja and current-day California were one nation, independent from Mexico and America from 1836 to 1846, or as long as Texas was the fabled independent nation that Texans to this day universally refer to with a great amount of pride in their voice. For longer than we have been divided by governments, we were historically a single people with a universal culture that appreciated and abounded with diversity far beyond the levels found in the rest of Mexico or America. Today, this difference in culture between Baja and the rest of Mexico and California and the rest of America is still as strong as it ever was over a century before. Both of our regions are still culturally distinct from our captor nations. Yes, California salutes the inhabitants of Baja California Peninsula, and we say yes to reunification between California and Baja California, but this must be done in a way that results in the full buy-in of the majority of both our peoples, so any reunification will be lasting and permanent. In order to do this and to secure a peaceful transition to independence, we must go through an orderly process of negotiation between our governors. After our regions have held successful votes from independence from Mexico held in Baja and a vote for independence from America here. Our governors between both regions of Baja and California have met recently and have already established friendly working relations. And international law demands that successful votes are held first, proving the will of the people. Therefore, we at Yes California feel this to be the most appropriate and also realistic plan toward a grand united California that can last. Yes, California will encourage our governors to meet immediately once that vote is held to begin negotiations for the largest reunification the world has ever seen since East Germany merged with West Germany. This will, in our estimation, create the most prosperous region of the entire Pacific Rim. We are one California. Our origin comes from old California. Our destiny is in independent California. We come from the same roots, and we are united by history. Today, we are ready to unify into a great nation that will bring well-being and fair governance to all families as never before seen in our collective histories. Viva todos, Californians. Thoughts, feelings. Just the draft? Don't have to like it, or you can.
Let me just throw in that some awesome beaches.
That's one of the things that I was always big with was, so the real estate market is one of the biggest economic drivers in California. And the real estate market is basically based upon really desirable places to live. So one of the hottest real estate markets in all of California is San Diego because of the weather. San Diego has a unique microclimate that's not exactly like the rest of California. Therefore, it has some of the most desirous destinations to go there. So basically, it's the best, most well-liked place in California because the climate there, and that drives the real estate prices almost higher than anywhere else. Yes, they're a bit higher in LA and San Francisco, but that's because of the dot-com boom. If you typically look over the last 60 years at real estate, it's San Diego, highly coveted. Well, guess who has the exact same climate as San Diego? The entire coastline of Baja. So I'd like to ask you, would having a gigantic real estate boom and mass construction development by people who want to live in the San Diego region be horrible? or ridiculously awesome for a burgeoning California economy? Which one? Would having access to San Diego quality weather be something that would attract investors and immigrants from all over the planet's surface, or something
And
that they
tourists.
would hate? Jason?
Well, just saying, you know, can't forget the post-corona tourism boom that the entire world has already agreed is going to happen. When it's time, it's gonna happen, and it's gonna be big.
Yeah. So how do people feel about this? We wanted to show that we were supportive of Baja, but we also wanted to show that we wanted to do it in the right way. We were not saying if you support California independence, you must support reunification with Baja. Didn't say that at all. What we said is we would encourage our elected officials to do that, but we would wait for a vote and for our elected officials to be able to do that with the will of the California people. We also pointed out that the governors of Baja and California have already met through the Brown administration and this current administration and already have good relations. So we're not saying this definitely has to be, we are encouraging it, but we are saying we will recognize the vote by the California people and the direction of the leadership of people chosen by Californians. Is this a fair way to make a statement for partnership? Thoughts?
Seems fair to me.
Okay. I'm not hearing any negative stuff, so I'm going to move forward with this text that was beautifully rewritten by Jason, and we'll keep moving forward. And our plan is to get a joint video made between MIBC and Yes California, showing our international outreach and the high quality of things that we can do. Let me see if I can find that video real quick. Yes, 1 second. One second here, bear with me. Okay. I'm going to share the video now. So this is I love this because this is an entire commercial about how California should secede, all in Spanish. I'll put the link up here. This is the first full Spanish language documentary, and it's 16 minutes long. And it talks about how and why California could secede. It was literally made by the Baja Independence movement for us here in California. It's all in Spanish, and it talks about us very well. Go back to the share screen. Sorry, trying to get these banners up. Bear with me. So it's called Si Independizara California, si fuera un país, sería potencia mundial. Mira estos datos de impacto. So basically, California wants to become independent. It's a place that could do it, and here's the facts about that information. That's roughly what they're saying. Let me get that link up to the YouTube channel. Here it is. I'll do another quick share screen just to let you see a little bit more. Right, so he's talking about us, and then specifically somewhere around here. So that is Yes California. Louis Marinelli, Bart Gilbert, that's a Yes California shirt, Yes California, in a video talking about how California could become independent. I want to point something out. This is the only video in Spanish that walks somebody who can only speak Spanish all the way through why California could become independent. It's got a good spokesperson, good graphics in the background, titling over the top of it, very professional. And this was all done by MIBC for Yes California. It's already being shown around Baja. It's already making the rounds in Spanish TV. It's literally a Spanish language, hey, California could secede documentary. We did nothing to make this, and they highlighted Yes California, and they're asking for even more partnership. So that's why we wanted to do a partnership speech with them, so we can make an even better video. This is our direct pipeline into Latin America in Spanish from allies who want to work with us.
Marcus, those guys came up. What is the name of their movement again?
It's MIBC. I'll spell that out right now.
MIBC. And
Yeah.
they came up with this all on their own?
Yep.
You're not secretly paying them under the table?
Nope. I didn't even know this was being done. Quatamek Morgan, Jason was there. Quatamek Morgan just jumped on the WhatsApp and go, hey, check out this video. That's all he said. And then we go, wow, Quatamek, this, because he's the MIBC, Movimiento Independencia Baja California, MIBC, Movimiento Independencia Baja California, Baja California Independence Movement.
Yeah.
Baja California, that's all it is. If you type in, you have to type it in Spanish. So Movimiento Independencia de Baja California, or MIBC, they are routinely covered in San Diego news. So I want to point that out. San Diego newspapers cover Baja Independence, and they have covered Baja Independence talking about Calexit, and they have covered the survey that MIBC put out in Baja that showed 60% of the people of Baja would choose to join California rather than become independent if they ever seceded from Mexico. 60% of the people of Baja in a survey ran by MIBC said, we don't want to be part of Mexico. We don't want to become independent on our own. We would rather join with California. Now, whether we accept that here in Californians is another question, but our governors have met. This movement is big. It's covered throughout Baja California, and it's covered in San Diego newspapers. This video was excellent, is going out to Spanish speakers, and we could tie ourselves into this and get more of the Spanish language community knowing specifically about Yes California. Thoughts, feelings?
I think this speaks to the collective consciousness of humanity is edging toward the same conclusion that rule from federal authorities, whether it be Mexican federal authorities or American federal authorities, is not working out. And I think it's pretty amazing that people who don't have anything, that didn't plan this ahead of time, are reaching the same conclusion. I think that's an impressive conclusion, which you've proven is occurring today. That needs to be recognized.
Sam, you're right. You're more right than you know. Here's the Movimiento Independencia de BC, Movimiento Independentista, Independence Movement of Baja. So this is what it is, MIBC. They have the goat, because apparently there's a lot of billy goats that run there. It's mostly mountainous, and you can see all about them. They are recognized. There's a better version of their graphics. Not now, they have a website. They're very Latino. But Sam, to get at what you're talking about, one of the things that I loved was we used to have Jay Chavez on. His wife got sick. Now we're working with Quatamek Morgan, but and also Felipe Ledesma. Scotland, Catalonia, California, Baja are all seceding for the same reason. I want to point that out again. Scotland, Catalonia in Spain, Baja in Mexico, Scotland in the northern part of Europe, Catalonia in the southern part of Europe, California in America, Baja in Mexico, all trying to leave for the exact same reasons. They have a different culture than the region. They are not looked at favorably by the rest of the government. They are the most economic success story of the region, and yet they have more of their tax money sucked out of them, sent to the national government, and not returned. Baja people were seen as backwoods Alaskans by Mexico. Mexico didn't even talk about them in any political race. It spent no money even connecting Mexico to them until like the 1980s. They didn't even have a road connecting Baja to Mexico till the 80s. And then they continued to talk trash on them because Baja people are pretty good at speaking English, and they have a lot of Chinese who live there. So they're kind of ethnically different. They kind of like Chinese food over Mexican food because it's been there. And they have a lot of Americans there, and they're used to going back and forth across the border. So they speak American-style English pretty well. They don't have this weird aspect towards America. They kind of know the culture, and they prefer Chinese food to Mexican food. And Mexico thinks that's completely weird and backwards and ugly and bad. In addition to Baja is a international trade economy because it's on the border, and it makes a lot of money. A lot of that wealth is sucked out of Baja, sent to Mexico City, and never comes back. In addition, they don't even get the infrastructure from Mexico linking into them. In fact, Baja people are as good at speaking English as Spanish because Mexico never allowed the communications infrastructure to show Mexican TV there till the 90s. So this part of Mexico had American TV, not Mexican TV, until the 1990s. They were effectively cut off, disenfranchised, but they were wealthy, multicultural, diverse, interconnected, pro-international relations, pro-immigration, and Mexico doesn't like any part of that, doesn't give them respect, doesn't give them infrastructure, takes their money. Well, that's kind of what Scotland says, and exactly what Catalonia says, and exactly what we in California say. It's almost like the most successful reasons for independence in the last 10 years all have the same drivers to catalyze those movements. What an incredible coincidence to see that in the European continent and in the Western Hemisphere operating on the same critical premise. I wonder what that means. Let's go to some comments. Okay. So any other comment? Yeah.
I think it could also be pointed out that that list is not a comprehensive list of all of the independent, secession, sedition, call it what you will, self-determination, because, you know, not every movement is a peaceful movement, and we try to stick with, you know, the ones that are. But, you know, like Papua New Guinea was subjugated long ago. Those people out there that, like, you know, are Papuan, they actually started to, like, you know, kind of revolt against their overlord oppressors. It's hard to find stuff in the news about them because they're so small and not well known. But, you know, over in Tigray, you know, it's not a peaceful thing. There has been violence, unfortunately. But over in Ethiopia, we have one of my dear friends actually is not doing well over there right now. He was brought here to America as a child when he was adopted, and he knows Marin County, speaks perfect English. He also speaks Amharic, which is what they speak in Ethiopia. But he goes back to his home country a lot because he really cares for his people and feels connected to his people and his culture, which is, I think, a great thing. Unfortunately, he went over there and this conflict broke out, and as somewhat of an activist, he's, you know, kind of compelled, feeling so much for his people, right? It's a small band of people trying to resist their oppressive overlord government. Unfortunately, there's fighting, so we can't really, you know, go too hard on any supportive measure one way or the other than maybe to encourage a, you know, cease to fighting and, you know, a start to the conversing and trying to figure out a amicable solution, right? But there are like dozens and dozens of secession, independence, call it what you will, movement around the world right now. And they've actually been growing in number. And I think, you know, that very clearly states, you know, what Sam was getting at there was, you know, it isn't just for no reason. And it isn't just one small group in a singular collective. There are many groups of varying size, some small, some large, some hostile, some reasonable and open and willing to dialogue and exchange, right? There's a whole spectrum, but that rainbow has actually been growing, and very recently. And I think that clearly says that the way that the world has been structured, the way that nations have kind of played God in a way with the structuring of all of the world's populace and landmass and resources, it has detrimentalized us as well as our habitat that we all share, and it's not working. And enough people are noticing that they're starting to come to the same conclusions all at the same time, and that includes us.
You're right. Something's going on. 20 years ago, there weren't that many secession movements. Right after the Soviet Union fell, you had a lot, and that was the 1990s. And then it seemed to kind of freeze. And then around 2010, you started hearing about Scotland and Catalonia. I never even heard of Catalonia before 2010. And it's only gotten hotter since, right? There's more people trying to pursue it violently or peacefully. I think there's the English-speaking part of an African nation that's trying to leave, and they're just getting slaughtered in the streets. But it's not a coincidence that all their reasons, I think it's in Cameroon or some part, are the same as Scotland, Catalonia, California, etc. People are recognizing it's an interconnected economy. And if you have a different culture and you're more prosperous because of that, why should you be held back by people who don't share your culture, spit on your culture, and therefore aren't doing what you're doing to become wealthy and aren't, you know, getting the idea of this is how you make wealth in the future? Like, how dare you have a culture that's fit for the economy of today? How dare you? And that's it. What is that? The Anglo-American establishment. Yep. Okay. Any other comments? Moment of silence for Canadians.
This right here, book written by Carol Quigley, explains what people are pushing back against. This is what it is right here.
Yeah, I would definitely include you to check out Scotland, Catalonia, California, Baja, the Anglophone crisis, the Iceland leaving Denmark, Biafra in the Congo trying to leave again, in addition to New Caledonia in France, also Hong Kong in China, and Vladivostok in Russia. All of these regions, there's like 6 to 10, are saying the same thing that we just covered about why they want to leave, and they're pushing for independence, and they've only been doing it really seriously in the last few years. That's a global trend, especially when we look back at what they call the springtime of nations. Sometime around 1917 to 1921 was what anthropologists noted as there were only so many nations around 1916, 1917. And then there was this 3-year period where there was this massive explosion of nations. And then the same thing, it goes not many nations for many years. And then right after about 52, right after the UN's done, there's another massive explosion of nations, and early 52 to 55, and then shrinks up. Then you have to go back to the 1990s, and there's another massive explosion of nations, early 90s, and then it shrinks. So this seems to be a pattern in world history going back over 100 years, where things happen in the world scene, and everybody who can get it while the getting's good, to borrow a Californian Too Short's phrase, jumps in. But the window's only a few years open, and then it shuts down for about 2 decades, but then something else happens. The world changes. Window opening, shuts down, window opening, the time periods of 1917, 1952, and 1990. And I predict that we're having another one now, where we're going to see new nations born. Who's going to be in? Who's going to be out? I don't know. But if we look at the history, and people are largely animals of patterns, we have a short window of a couple more years left to either become independent or be locked in for a few more decades. And I think California will become one of them. And I think the time is now. We said this in 2014, California is ready to secede. And nobody took us seriously. And then 1/3 of California backed secession, and the entire planet recognized it 3 years later. Why did we say that? Magic? Time machine? Just luck? No, we were looking at trends. And we were the first person to point out something uncomfortable nobody wanted to talk about. America was not working anymore, and it was not working for California. Nobody wanted to hear that. Everybody said we were wrong. Politico even slammed us and said we're lying. And then 3 years later, the governor and the entire legislature uses all of our same talking points. How do we go from nutbag insane to the entire world, all the media, and all elected officials in California saying the exact same thing, and only in 3 years? It's almost like we were right, and we were willing to say it when no one else had the gall to say the same thing. I predict the same trend now. America will not be unified. It will not come together. It is divided, and it will permanently increase in political polarization, meaning that it's going to become more divided and more unstable and chaotic. And Joe Biden is not going to fix that. By the way, that was a prediction we made before Biden was elected, and it turns out to be true. The other prediction that we made was that, well, let me just show you. And I got to thank Jason Wright for this. Biden is just a different shade of Trump. We suggested this before the election. We suggested this right after Biden got elected. Nobody wanted to hear that. Well, it's 3 months later. He's coming up on his 100 days. Were we right? Joe Biden has placed kids in cages. He has denied reporters access to them. He has denied those children access to lawyers, and he's denied those children access to showers. That's just what Trump did. Joe Biden also told all of Latin America, don't come to America. You're not welcome, just like Trump. Joe Biden has also said he's going to continue the border wall, which is white supremacist. And now my personal favorite, because I can't keep up on it. Recently, Joe Biden said he will keep the cap against refugees enacted by Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump reduced the cap on the amount of refugees coming into America because he was a xenophobe and didn't like foreigners. Joe Biden said he's keeping the same thing. So, border wall, kids in cages, horrible concentration camp conditions, don't come to America, and we want to discriminate against refugees and discourage them. That's all Joe Biden, folks. Exact same thing Donald Trump said. So,
and if I may point out quickly,
he's a Democrat. It's cool. It's okay. He's a Democrat. Come on. Come on, man.
He's a Demopublican. But yeah, the reason why this matters to California, folks, is because our insanely high producing agricultural entity of the world, right? On a world scale, California is up there at the top. And it largely hinges on the fact that California has always been accepting of people coming to help us with our harvest. You know, over in Germany, if you're touring around for the summer, you can like go to an apple orchard and work and make a decent day's wages, and you can like go tour around Germany working a couple of days and sightseeing for a couple of days. You know, California does this, or did this, until the federal government started, you know, locking down borders and imprisoning children. And, you know, that's, I mean, if I was someone looking to come to America for a better life, or even just for a while for some work for a decent wage. And then I see, you know, they're imprisoning children and torturing them. Some children even, you know, there are allegations that they have been raped by prison facility staff. Children, folks. I would just, you know, if I was an immigrant looking at this from the outside, I would quickly change my mind and say, wow, yeah, you don't need to tell me to not come up there. I definitely don't want to come up there to Psycho Land. And then California's economy suffers.
You want to hear another one that I learned recently about the exploitation of illegal aliens, or you could call them undocumented, whatever political correct term you want to use. What is happening here in California, how the federal government is exploiting these people, is they allow them to work under fake Social Security numbers. They take that tax, put it in the Social Security fund, and then these people are left without any claim to those funds. So they're essentially paying for benefits they will never receive. And it's all signed off by the IRS, and they know all full well and good about it. And that's exploitation of workers regardless of their immigration status. And that's allowed knowingly by our state and federal government. And it's disgusting to me.
Yeah, and you know, the quick and easy solution to that is something that California has pretty much been hell-bent on trying to do for at least a decade now, which is, you know, this whole program of the dreamer kids who are like, you know, we wanted to ramp that up here in California. We were like, hey, you know what? If you're here, we just want you to be protected and covered just like anyone else. We want you to have the same rights and equality no matter what, just like anyone else. Not based on anything other than you're here in California. And, you know, again, federal government, and I got to say, some of the extremists on both sides. I mean, I will never, ever, ever forget the conversation I had while watching a bunch of dreamer kids in white shirts marching down 4th Street in San Rafael, Marin County, California. And there's this somewhat older lady, you know, and she's very disgusted by the whole thing. And she makes a kind of offhand comment towards me of, can you believe this? And I go, yeah, I know, right? It's really unfortunate that they would have to actually parade down the street to make their cause known. Like, you know, this should be at the forefront of everyone's mind. And she just snaps her head and she goes, what? And so we started talking. I actually had dialogue with this woman, who it turns out runs a landscaping service that is exclusively for exploiting people who do not have the proper paperwork. And she was very open about that. She wouldn't, you know, because she asked me, like, well, you know, with my business, I don't want them to have the same rights because I have to pay them more. I'm not going to hire you because, you know, I'm going to have to pay you a certain amount. And then I'm not going to make as much money. So it's straight up usury. And she's totally okay with it, right? Be very clear about that. And, you know, I make it clear to her that, well, I actually know a lot of landscaping, horticultural, genetics, you name it. Botany was like one of my favorite things to study. And she says, you know, well, then I definitely couldn't hire you because I could not afford you. I would lose money. What I need is people who I can pay $1 to go and do some work for some hours. And I want it that way. And I was just like disgusted. I was horrified, and I was straight up disgusted at that person. Like, I don't know if I can actually consider them a human being at that point. Wow, you have lost your humanity, person. And again, that's here in San Rafael, Marin County, up in the Bay Area, California, super affluent, super forward-thinking progressive land or whatever. And, you know, it just speaks to the problem that there are extremists. And it's not a red or a blue thing. There are people who have extreme ways of thinking and being, like this lady and her willingness to be a usurer, to like just straight up like hardcore exploit people so that she can monetarily profit and live the lush life. You know, it's an extreme way of being that only serves the self and detrimentalizes anyone who comes in contact with that being. As long as we can agree that as Californians, stuff like that, right? Usury, exploitation, that's not cool. Slavery, that's not cool. Whether it's corporate prison slavery, you know, using them to fight the wildfires, and then, you know, well, they're prisoners, so do we really have to pay them? Okay, we'll pay them $1.15 a day for fighting California's wildfires that almost burned us all to a freaking crisp. We needed their help, yes. They were prisoners, yes. People who messed up. They're serving time for their crimes. However, that's not any sort of justification. There is no justification for straight up usury, which ultimately comes down to, I mean, it might as well be slavery at that point. Oh, the difference is the slaves weren't paid and we're paying them $1.15. Yeah, it might as well be slavery, in my opinion. Especially when there are people who are hired by the state who have the actual training to be able to safely do this insanely dangerous job. They get paid a good amount of money. They should probably still be paid more, but it's not $1.15 a day. So, you know, if we can all agree to not be extreme and just be Californians, then we should also be able to see that America has become very extreme. Red, blue, doesn't matter. America is extremist, and that tug of war is getting worse and worse. And we need to come together as Californians who are reasonable, who are looking to legal means to solve problems with actual solutions, rather than tape a Band-Aid over an arterial wound and leave it to the next generation. We all need to come together. We all need to actually put these ideas together, and then we need to hardcore force our California government to act, to implement change. Sorry, I kind of hijacked the microphone again.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. And
the government, the Democrats, let's just say, because they're the ones say we care about these immigrants. We care, right? They're signing off on the exploitation of them. I mean, that's the fact of the matter. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. There were already children who had disappeared into foster homes, again, using children as commodities, as resources, as sources of generating revenue. And these are children who are like, I guess, criminals for coming over here, and we don't want them, so we're going to imprison them. But then magically they get spirited away in, secrecy out into foster homes and through adoption agencies of varying sorts. And people are paying money. People are receiving money. There's, income being generated on it. And when it came out, the government had to turn around and go back and go and try to actually find all of those children and bring them back to the facility, which is kind of sad for the kids. But, it sucks that America is making children pay for its ineptitude and unwillingness to be decent. Oh, but wait, that's right. We just returned to decency, right?
Yeah. Continuing the expose of Biden, a different shade of Trump, as Jason just pointed out, and Sam, and thanks, Jason, for that phrasing. I want to show you a video, if I may, that was recently made here at Yes California. YesCal prediction: Cahill will let Chauvin off, and there will be no Biden police reform. If I could just show that to you real quick, I think this will be interesting. I know you can't hear it, but you can see the closed captioning. Okay, I'm not sure.
Got to remove the YesCal prediction banner.
I can't. It's buried. It's already programmed into the video. So I'll cover this in a second, but just want to let you show that this is the video that talks about this. You can see in the closed captioning some of the things that were going on. So basically what's happening is Joe Biden has been going around saying he's about racial justice and Black Lives Matter, and he loves it so much, and he is all about it. At the same time that Joe Biden's doing that, he's actually doing other actions. So there was a police reform executive action committee that was created by Obama and killed off by Trump. Biden has said he was going to reenact it, and then quietly this week shut it down. There was another executive oversight committee exclusively under the power of the presidency. He also shut that one down. Now, this was two executive actions that he could have taken unilaterally on police reform, and while giving a speech about racial justice and George Floyd, he shut these two committees down. Didn't tell anybody, did it while giving a speech. That's fact. Secondly, Joe Biden is now under less pressure from police reform because of the George Floyd decision. The fact that there was 3 strikes now has Democrats saying we don't actually need to do police reform. And what that has led to is Joe Biden is attending no meetings in Congress on reinstituting, I think it's called the George Floyd law. So he has this law, he's saying we're going to fix the police, and here it is. He's gone to none of the meetings or met with any Republicans or any Democrats about getting that law passed. That's not how you do it. If you're a president and you care, you meet with people and you negotiate, you put your word behind it. He's gone to no meetings. His staff has said there's less pressure to do anything, and he has pulled out of 2 executive committees on oversight and police reform while giving a speech about racial justice in America. Additionally, I wanted to remind everybody that when Joe Biden was elected, there was a leaked audio conference where he told the civil rights leaders of America who said, can you enact executive actions to deal with police violence? And he told them, to hell with you. Months ago, days after elected, top civil rights leaders, hey, Joe Biden, Obama did a lot of executive actions and even the Republicans won't let you. Can you do executive actions? No, I will not. And if you don't like it, quotes, to hell with you, and quotes, I'm that white boy. Yes, he said that. Yes, that happened days after he was elected. Well, it's now months in, first 100 days. And guess what? He's a truthful man. He didn't do what the top civil rights leaders in America asked for on police reform and canceled the executive committees. And he did it in a very clever manner where he canceled them while talking about racial justice in America. Additionally, I want to point out that the police officers union who saluted Donald Trump said, quotes this week, Joe Biden is our guy. And they like him and think he's the appropriate fit for the job. So the same people who liked Trump and backed all the Trump stuff did are now saying they back Biden. Biden is not helping to pass the legislation on the George Floyd reform, which, by the way, analysts predict has no chance of actually being passed because of Republicans. So he's not going to any meetings. Additionally, George Floyd leaves less pressure on the Biden administration to make reform. And while talking about racial justice, Joe Biden has pulled out of 2 executive committees he had the authority to enact all by his own that would actually move the dial on police reform. So he tells you African-American civil rights leaders, to hell with you. And I'm not doing executive actions on police reform. By the way, he yelled at them for saying, I hate defund the police. He's now talking about reforming the police with additional money to the police. That's what Donald Trump was saying. He's now backed by the same police officers union that backed Donald Trump. And he is now removing executive committees that Donald Trump also did. So my question to you as a Californian is, looks like he's doing nothing for Latinos and African Americans. Is this guy Trump part 2? Because these are not California values. You don't have to be a Republican. You don't have to this or that. You can like Biden on this and that. But I'm asking you, is it a California value to lie and place children in cages in horrible conditions and build the border wall and discriminate against immigrants and say, don't even come here, and tell them that we're knocking off the refugee status, and then back out of presidential commissions on police reform you could do on your own, not attend any meetings, passing the law on police reform, recognizing and secretly leaking out that you don't actually have to do anything, and then telling the top African-American civil rights leaders in all of America, to hell with you, and I'm that white boy if you don't like what I'm doing. All that happened under Biden. And it's all the things that we hated in California when the orange one did it. And that's why we say it, yes, California, Biden, a different shade of Trump. Something to consider when you want to talk about decency in America.
Biden has a dog, okay? And I saw Biden the other day. He picked a dandelion for his wife, all right? When they're walking up to get on the helicopter. So those are good things that Biden's been doing. A dog, and he loves his wife.
There you go.
Yeah, and if I may, being the one who coined the phrase, not to say you're saying it wrong or anything, not to, not going to rip
Hey, call me out, Chris. We always want to do better marketing. Tell me how I'm not doing it right. Tell me how I'm not doing it right. Let's get better.
It's the inverse. Trump was a different shade of Biden. Biden was vice president, the one who controls implementation of policy of the United States of America. He was vice president at the time children were started being put into cages down along our southern border. It was Biden who started that. Trump ramped it up. And now Biden is saying, hey, I'm not going to turn it back down. So really, Trump was the extremist excuse to have it get cranked up another notch and stay there. It's the new norm. Everything's now at 8. Well, folks, what happens when it gets turned up to 11? If you get the Spinal Tap reference.
That's a good one. Hey, good. Just to piggyback off Jason's point, Trump wasn't a politician. He was in the government 4 years. Biden has been in the government 50 freaking years, man. So you want to talk about systemic racism? which they're saying, oh, systemic racism. Okay, well, it blows my mind that the guy who's the government for 50 years says systemic racism. Well, he's pointing the finger at himself. I mean, what's going
Well,
on
let's
here,
not
man?
forget, he voted against reintegrating schools at a certain point, quote, because I don't want my kids to go to school in a jungle.
94
He was an
crime
elected,
bill. That's all I got to say. Look up 94
elected official at that point in time. And he voted against doing the right thing. He voted against equality from all the way back in the day.
94 crime bill.
Yeah, and Kamalas know better. So, okay, we'll leave it there. It's been a good show. I hope that you have seen that we have tried to provide an opportunity for many people of different perspectives, a diverse group, politically, ethnically, culturally, religiously, to come together and talk, and that we've shared information about the stability of America, about what actually is going on in the decent administration, and how this affects us here in California. Information you may not find elsewhere. And that's why we say, yes, California is having the most important conversation that you need to hear about if you live here. Last minute comments before we end the show.
Very interesting and informative show. And Jack B is putting up some very good comments there. I appreciate the comments there, Jack B.
Jack B, you're awesome. You should consider joining us, Jack B. Let me put up my email here. If anybody would like to join the Calexit Congress and come live to StreamYard every Sunday at 11 Pacific, that's every Sunday at 11 Pacific, the most important conversation that we in California can have. Babies love it. Toddlers love it. Adults love it. Children love it. Republicans love it. Democrats love it. Progressives love it. LGBTQ love it. African Americans, Arabs, Muslims, Latinos, and aliens, I'm sure, would be welcomed.
And interface green, although I guess you could consider me alien at that point.
Yeah. So we are proud to do this. Please join us, Marcus.Ruiz.Evans, and you can check us out. Also posted this up to the video. Please check that out. It really goes into detail about what Biden's doing on police reform and how the justice system in America will actually work. All factual-based information, all stuff no one's talking about and can only be found exclusively here at Yes California. Thank you.